Government
what?
shut up, Gene. Government shutdown of ICE, AI-only social network, mass shooting in British Columbia, and more.
Yeah. Do you like the title?
You fucked up my intro.
Oh, well, we do need to make a new intro for the stream due to the change in cast and everything. But are we live?
Yeah, that's why I read the title.
Okay. So, is everybody in the chat?
Nope, nobody's in the chat.
No? Okay. Well, let's get into ICE abusing the public. You gotta love our, deadpan sort of startup.
School shooting rocked a remote northern...
There's enemies. Where's Bill Hicks?
Tuesday, multiple people, including the shooter, were found dead at the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, located about...
Oh, no. Okay, so I guess maybe we'll start with Canada. So, within the last couple days, there was a school shooting in a small town in Canada, British Columbia, which is their most far west province. And apparently, I don't know, I think around, well, it says here 10 were killed. I've seen numbers that are over 20. So I don't know if that's inaccurate, but I guess we'll see.
600 miles northeast of Vancouver.
This is a devastating day for a close-knit community, and the loss being felt.
What are their gun laws there?
Were found in a nearby home.
What's that?
What are their gun laws there?
They have much more strict gun laws than in the United States because they're a communist country with their universal health care.
Okay, that was a joke, everybody.
Police are conducting further searches at other homes and properties to determine whether anyone else may be injured or otherwise...
Do you think if somebody doesn't pick up on that being a joke, they have autism?
No, I think it's because your fucking robot voice.
Being too deadpan
to today's events.
The school has only about 175 students, grades 7 through 12, and police say they were on the scene within 2 minutes of getting the first reports of the shooting. Officials believe the shooter, a female, acted alone, leaving police and a local community searching for answers.
Okay, so it's a female shooter. So I know, are you aware of this, Kimberly? Most mass shooters are men.
No, yeah, well, because men are psychopaths.
No, men just like killing. That's why, I don't know, girls like baby dolls and stuff because it's prepping them for motherhood, and boys like action figures because it's prepping them for, mass murder.
Being Superman.
Of Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah, that's what men are. Being a man's all about.
Remain in a state of crisis following one of the worst mass shootings in our province's and country's history.
Canada has strict gun control laws, and school shootings are extremely rare. The last one happened a decade ago.
It makes us think about our kids' safety when they're going to school. We take it for granted. You go to school, you come home safe. And events like this give us pause.
It's not clear yet how the Canadian government will respond, but previous mass shootings resulted in stronger gun control measures. And just last year, Canada added almost 200 new gun models to its list of banned assault weapons. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Okay, so I guess they're a trans shooter. So everyone on the right's going to come out. Oh, and this is Sky News Australia. So Sky News Australia is very right-leaning, and very pro-Trump. But the last time I remember, this was in the last year, they went to their elementary school, which is a private Catholic school, and they committed mass shooting, and they were trans, and everyone was trying to spin the narrative that them being trans was somehow the reason they went about conducting the mass shooting, even though it's most mass shooters aren't trans. But hey, that mass shooter is also left-handed, so there must be a correlation between being left-handed and being a mass shooter.
A murder. Okay, so that's why Bill Hicks said a female is because it's a male to female trans.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Do you think video games brainwash kids and turn them into school shooters?
I think it's maybe she got on hormones and then it fucked with her brain.
Damn. Well, I don't know.
It's that estrogen. It makes us crazy.
Well, what about puberty? Do you think puberty makes teens crazy? Maybe that's why they start doing things like cutting themselves and shooting up schools.
The hormones. Transition to a woman. Okay, sorry. This is I don't
What's
have
that?
Sorry, I thought it said transitioning into a man, and then it's just because I have my chat like in the wrong place. Sorry.
Okay. And secondary school, now that's a very common non-US term. So what's secondary school exactly? Because I know in Britain, a lot of other countries will say primary and secondary school.
You don't know?
No.
Why don't you know? You know everything.
I forget exactly.
Let me Google it.
And I think it's different country by country. So
High
in a
school.
Okay. Wait, so secondary is high school?
Yeah, 9 through 12.
So then primary is elementary school and middle school, I guess.
I guess. I don't know.
Hmm.
Pre-HRT.
So they said they were super skinny, and then that makes them feel kind of good. So do you think being super skinny is associated with having homicidal thoughts?
Okay, I'm sorry, but this pre-HRT, so this is someone with all the male, pretty much a biological male, like, I think this would still fall into the most males are shooters, or mass shooters, or whatever the fuck.
Why do you think men are more likely to kill?
That testosterone makes them do shit.
Now, if men didn't, like, just disappeared, or let's say there was a complete swap in terms of which gender tends to be the majority when it comes to government roles, how much do you think there'd be a decline in war if women were in charge of the world's militaries as opposed to men?
Oh, I don't know if we'd get anything done.
Oh. I think there'd be a lot less war, but I still think that if men didn't exist, I still think there'd be lots of violence because human beings are just violent in general.
I don't think so. I don't think women, like, we just don't have the time for that. We're too busy caring for all our kids that we pop out. Or our cats.
Oh. I don't know, that's kind of sexist. I sense some internalized sexism here.
I'm just saying it like it is. Men want to, build civilizations to impress women so they can get pussy. And we don't really want to do all that.
Yeah, but what happens when they need resources? And then there's other nations that have the resources, the other, like, female nation states. You don't think then tribalism is going to run its course regardless of gender?
What?
Yep. What?
Tribalism? Look, behind every female leader, there's a man pointing her where to go.
What about gay leaders, though?
They still have testosterone.
Okay, next video.
Tumbler Ridge, BC is holding together thanks to the caring and kindness of neighbors, friends, and strangers, all facing the unthinkable, the loss of 8 lives, most of them so young, all taken by a mass shooter. The RCMP now confirming their names. Among those killed at Tumbler Ridge Secondary, Zoe Benoit, Abel Mwansa, Takaria Lampert, Kylie Smith, all of them just 12 years old. And then there was 13-year-old Ezekiel Schofield and educator Shanda Avigana Durand. Those found dead in their home, the mother and stepbrother of the shooter. Jennifer Strang, identified by police using her legal name, Jennifer Jacobs, and 11-year-old Emmett Jacobs. Ian is in Tumbler Ridge for us tonight. Ian, we've heard about how tightly knit this town is. I know that over the course of the few terrible days, you've been seeing that firsthand.
Everywhere you look, you see people who are clearly sharing their grief, sharing their reminiscences, especially now that the names of the victims are out there. The RCMP says that it released those names.
So I do think, like, this is a town that only has a few hundred people living there. So if 10 people died, I mean, that's a pretty large percentage of their overall population.
10%.
of the victims only after careful consultation with the families. And so let's begin our coverage with Julia Wong, who shows us many of those parents want their children to be remembered the way they knew them.
Relatives say Dakaria Lampert was loving, courageous, and one of a kind.
She loved her family fiercely. She just wanted to bring sunshine to everyone and everything she ever touched.
The 12-year-old was known as Kiki to others around her. Her mother and the 7 siblings she leaves behind are reeling from her loss.
It has been the hardest pill to swallow. I still am in disbelief. To accept that my daughter is gone is impossible.
Another victim, Zoe Benoit, is being remembered as vibrant and caring. She brought so much laughter and smiles in her presence. She loved spending time with her family where she could show her love, the family says.
So I think this shooter, they weren't currently a student, so they went to the school when they were within the proper age range. So I guess since they decided, hey, I'm going to commit a shooting, they decide to go to their secondary school to do this. And it's just, what do you think of that sort of psychology where it's one thing if somebody is currently attending that school and, I don't know, they're a 12-year-old kid who's bullied, so they commit the shooting at their current school. But what about people who are adults that go back to their elementary school or middle school and then commit, like, a mass shooting? Like, nobody who's there had any connection or association with them when they were there. It's just, I don't know. How do their fucking brains work? I know the kid from Sandy Hook did that. And I think that was the deadliest school shooting outside of Virginia Tech, so non-college based shooting. And he went to his elementary school. It's like, I don't know. What's the logical connection?
In a statement released by RCMP, Kylie Smith enjoyed art and school, her family, and friends.
Okay, so they said secondary school is 12 to 16-year-olds in UK.
Amazing little girl. She was just so full of happiness and love, and she just cared for everybody, and she just wanted the best for everybody. She just, she was the first person to help anybody that needed help, and, if she never bullied anybody, she was just such a good-hearted kid.
Adam Wansa was respectful and hardworking, and known for his big smile.
He was so polite and so good and well-spoken.
I do think in Canada, with their provinces, there's not the separation of powers that you see in the United States. So I don't think there are different laws when you move between different provinces in Canada. And for the most part, it's like when it comes to their gun laws, there's a lot of more rural areas in Canada where they can get licenses for hunting rifles. But I do know that their gun laws are far more strict than in the United States. So mass shootings are pretty rare in Canada.
For a 12-year-old child, I thought, man, he's so mature and so intelligent.
This growing memorial is where many have come to pay their respects, including BC Premier David Eby. In this tight-knit community, everyone is feeling the deep loss.
I have a group of kids in town, junior rangers, and one of them was...
Okay, Skeppy's from Canada, so they said it depends if it's a federal or a provincial law.
Killed, and the other said, she's in critical condition.
A resident of Tumbler Ridge for about 30 years, Glenn Miller says it's difficult to think about anything else right now.
It's been pretty hard, they don't sleep,
Now, Skeppy, what are the gun laws like in Toronto?
We'll get over it, the sun's still shining, but...
In Vancouver.
Just not as bright.
2 victims remain in hospital. One, 12-year-old Maya Gabala, who was critically wounded in the shooting, clinging to life in the hospital.
I feel like I'm living in a nightmare right now that I just can't wake up from. She's an incredible human being. She's strong. And if anybody's going to make it out of this, it's definitely going to be her.
Julia, the anguish shared by so many people, it has been...
I don't know. This reminds me of the film The Sweet Hereafter. And that was a Canadian film, and it's about a school bus that got into an accident, so all the kids in the town ended up dying. So it pretty much destroyed the entire town. So kind of reminds me of that, since I think they stated that there's only 500 people in this town. So that would be 2% of the population. So it probably would have this sort of tragic effect.
Drawing leaders, the Premier, as we saw already, and soon the Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's right. Mark Carney will be traveling to Tumbler Ridge on Friday after getting an invitation from the mayor, and all the party leaders will be traveling with him. They will be attending a vigil that's been organized by the community, and it'll take place at the town hall, which is not too far from where we are, and that will start at 6 p.m. local time. And this vigil is being billed as a place for people to come together to reflect and to honor the victims.
Julie Wong, thank you very much. The memorial in Julia's story has been growing quickly, just steps from where we are in front of Tumbler Ridge Secondary. Flowers, candles, pictures of those lost. Caroline Bard-Goot shows us how this town is grappling with the tragedy and, for some, the terrifying moments that they live through inside the school.
Duncan Mackay doesn't know if he can ever go back to Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. He and his cousin were in gym class on Tuesday when they heard gunshots.
Then my teacher went out to check, and he saw students on the floor. On the top floor, he went up to see, and he saw bullet holes in the glass, came back down.
The teacher locked the students in an equipment room and tried to distract them.
He managed to keep everyone in that equipment room calm. He kept lifting up the mood whenever he started
Okay,
getting down.
I recently looked up, I think open carry is like fine in 47 states. And like it's like New York and California and something else that don't allow it. And I was like, that's fucking insane. I thought that it was just like maybe just Republican states that were into open carry, but it's like most states. But then I think certain establishments like are like, no.
Well, even in most left-leaning states, they're still far more, I guess, welcoming of like gun ownership or lenient when it comes to gun ownership compared to most other like Western countries.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crack the jokes, keep everyone morale up.
But hey, if everybody had a gun, then people would be safe.
Safer.
It was about
Well, imagine if every single kid in the high school had a gun on them.
2 hours before police came and escorted them out of the school, past the blood and bullet holes that told the story of what had happened.
I was looking around. There was like the back of someone's heel, footprints, On like the heel, there was blood.
Duncan was in school that day, but his mother, Tiffany Hildebrandt, kept his 12-year-old brother home.
I don't know why I didn't send him to school. The day before, he was kind of pale, so I just didn't wake him up the next day.
So someone in the chat says, guns save 10 times the amount of lives that are taken in crimes with guns every year in America, regardless of your feelings on the Second Amendment. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I'm pretty moderate when it comes to gun ownership, but I think that's a very difficult thing to measure. Like, it seems like there's a lot of tenuous, fluctuating data there. So I think it'd be very hard to prove/disprove that premise.
And if I did, it could have been very different for our family, because those were all his classmates.
That boy's best friend died in the shooting. The family had just moved to Tumbler Ridge in September. It immediately felt like home, but that feeling has been shaken.
We lock our doors down. We didn't lock our doors when we got here. My children lock our doors. They're scared.
Hildebrandt and her business partner own a bistro in town. They decided to stay open to feed first responders and provide a safe place for the community and for the affected families to go.
I just wanted to be here for them if they want to talk, if they want a shoulder to lean on, if they just need a place to go so people leave them alone. We're here.
Caroline, that bistro has become a real hub for the community and a symbol, really, of how this community has drawn even more closely together.
You're right, Ian. And just to give you a sense of how intertwined this community really is, while Tiffany Hildebrandt was waiting to find out if her 3 children were okay while they were locked down in that school, she got a call from someone in the community saying that they had come across a child that needed a safe place.
Somebody said, look up FBI statistics if you don't believe it. So typically the FBI would be crime statistics, so documented cases of shootings. So something like that, you would need something that's more from an academic source where they actually try to research both sorts of scenarios, like whether people died due to like somebody using guns or committing murder with firearms versus people using it in self-defense. So again, it's seems like it's something that's very difficult to actually study.
To go. So Hildebrandt said, bring them here. Well, that child happened to be another sibling of the shooter who had just gone home, found his mother and brother had been shot to death and needed a place to go. So went to neighbors.
Caroline Margout.
Good evening and welcome to City News. Tonight, a province in mourning. British Columbia observes an official day of grief after one of the deadliest mass shootings in Canadian history. We're learning more about the victims in Tumbler Ridge, where a community shattered by tragedy is preparing a memorial.
This has been the hardest pill to swallow. I still am in disbelief. To accept that my daughter is gone is impossible.
For the mother of Takaria Lampert, her daughter's life was full of laughter and light, now cut tragically short. Thursday evening, she spoke of a family shattered by loss and the pain that will never fade.
Kiki's abstinence in our family is not going to go unnoticed.
Now, I will acknowledge that in some scenarios, it's just, maybe it is unavoidable. So I wouldn't really advocate that nobody be allowed to own like a hunting rifle in Canada, especially rural areas. And this is like the kind of like community, or this the kind of like region where you'd expect people to have access to such firearms for things like hunting. So I can understand why not wanting somebody in Toronto or in a metropolitan area to have like a rifle that they carry around with them. But it's just here it's if they used a hunting rifle in order to commit the shooting, then this is a scenario where you could just chalk it up to it being a tragedy. I don't really see what kind of regulations would be able to prevent something like this.
Have to figure out how to live life without her.
Metal detectors everywhere.
Nothing and no one that can fill that gap.
Takaria was one of the victims of the Tumbler Ridge mass shooting. The violence began at a home on Fellers Avenue, where 18-year-old Jessie Van Roetselaar killed her mother and stepbrother. She then went to Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, taking the lives of a teacher and 5 children, including Takaria.
All of us here will make sure that the supports are here, knowing that they will never be adequate for what you're going through. We'll pray for you in whatever way we pray. I know that that's happening across Canada and around the world.
At the school, 12 and 13-year-olds Abel Mwanza, Ezekiel Schofield,
Is it the
Takaria
bear
Lampert,
scout?
Zoe Benoit, and Kylie Smith.
You gotta have
What's
bear defense.
Yeah, I do know in Alaska, there's certain towns where everyone carries like rifles on them at all times because of polar bears. And
Yeah, I
because
think
of,
Iceland, I think, is like that.
well, I don't know if Iceland deals a lot with wild bears.
Were killed. Also among the victims was 39-year-old Shonda Aviganda Durand. At the home, 11-year-old Emmett Jacobs and 39-year-old Jennifer Jacobs were gunned down. Dozens more were injured, including
Did
12-year-old
you
Maya Gabala,
pause it,
shot
Jane?
twice and
Did you just say metal detectors everywhere? Are you kidding me? Tell me you're joking.
She's joking.
I'm as serious as a school shooting.
I mean, in the U.S., lots of schools have metal detectors. In Baltimore, like a lot of schools have metal detectors. And it's not necessarily for firearms. It's more for like knives and weapons people use for stabbing, because it's actually fairly common, depending on where you are.
airlifted to
Oh,
BC
and then
Hospital.
funny thing, Jean, remember we were looking up homicide statistics, or I was reading them to you the other night, and I posted in the PPP server, and I think, yeah, it's like significantly more deaths are by guns. So if we had no guns, don't you think there would be less deaths?
Maybe, but then how would people fight against the government?
Yeah.
In critical condition.
Because having like AR-15 is really going to help. The Civil War comes and they're like enforcing airstrikes, artillery strikes.
She tried to lock the door of the library from the shooter to save the other kids.
But the other issue is that when it comes to gun violence, I mean, a lot of cases, it's kids getting access to the guns, and then they end up hurting themselves or like accidentally murdering themselves because they're mishandling it. Then there's also the issue of it's like you're much more likely to be murdered by somebody that you know than a stranger.
Yeah, I think that was in the homicide statistics as well. Remember, it was like women, maybe I should pull that up.
Yeah, but when it comes to like homicide rates and everything, when people say that guns save far more lives, well, the issue there is like a lot of homicides are due to, or usually they're crimes of passion, and it's going to be somebody that you actually have some relationship with as opposed to a stranger. But I guess somebody doesn't need a gun for that. I guess they could murder them and use other methods.
She tried to lock it and then ran under a table, and he shot her.
Prime Minister Mark Carney will travel to Tumbler Ridge.
Charlie Surf says, pretty sure that's not how a civil war would go down. Then how would it go down?
Friday to attend a vigil joined by all party leaders in a rare show of unity.
It is so important when we see a tragedy like this, with young lives lost, families don't have their children coming home last night. I think it was really, really important to see that, and I thank the government.
Now, I do know one policy Canada has is that if you want to own a firearm, you have to wait a certain amount of days, like 20, 30 days before they actually will like deliver the firearm to you or something like that. And because there's that delay, it actually has decreased the number of like suicides. So you're actually, even in the United States, like you're much more likely to kill yourself than you are to be killed by somebody else. So suicide's definitely a much more like prolific issue. And one of the things they found is that a lot of times, like that extra 10 days to mull over things, that usually that does make the difference in them, you know, using the gun for what they originally intended. So there's certain like regulations like that that are able to save a lot of lives. And I mean, the statistics do show that did work.
So America's murder rate remains moderate globally, but far above its peers. The U.S. homicide rate in 2024 was 5 to 10 times higher than most Western European countries. So that's what happens with more guns. Like, I don't know. How is there not a correlation between more guns and more deaths?
Well, I would say that in the United States, there's more guns than people. So I do think there is a problem where I think there's too many guns in circulation. So, like, I won't deny that guns can save lives in a lot of cases, but maybe you can make it where people are able to acquire guns, like, adequately enough where it abides by the Second Amendment, and where they're able to get them efficiently enough where they can use them for self-defense, but then at the same time, maybe it doesn't need to be as chaotic as it is, where like there's so many areas where there are guns that people own it illegally, they're circulating illegally. So it seems like, I don't know, there's quite the excess of firearms in circulation that probably shouldn't be.
Okay, here, since someone was bitching in the chat, in 2021, Canada had a homicide rate of 2.07 per 100,000 population, which marked a 3.1% increase from the previous year. Overall, the homicide rate has seen fluctuations, with a significant decline of over 40% since its peak in 1975.
Now, another thing is, when it comes to mass shootings, so in the United States, the FBI, they have all these like red flag sort of systems where they use, it's like a combination of computer programs and also just behavioral, like sort of, I guess, surveillance, so people's purchasing habits. And it's very, very accurate when it comes to determining whether or not somebody is likely to commit that kind of crime. So there are lots of cases where you'll have a mass shooter where they've had their guns seized multiple times because they triggered those like red flag systems. And it's just, it is pretty rare and hard. I mean, most people don't commit murder, so you're in the vast, vast minority of people if you actually do commit murder. But the fact that, like, you look at all these cases where people have committed shootings where they've triggered those red flag laws, they've had their guns seized from them, but then after a certain amount of time, they gave the guns back. It's just, I think maybe if you trigger those kind of like systems, maybe you shouldn't be allowed to own guns anymore. And anybody who's against that because they're that pro Second Amendment, it's just the chances of somebody triggering those sort of like parameters, it's astronomically rare. So it's like, why the fuck would you be against somebody like that not having access to firearms? There's this person who shot up a FedEx and they triggered those flags or they triggered that system 3 times. They gave their guns back to them 3 times. And this was a person who attacked their relatives and they had a long history of different psychiatric disorders. I mean, maybe somebody like that maybe if you trigger that system once, or especially twice, maybe after that they shouldn't have their guns given back to them.
Okay, so hold on. There's more statistics nationwide. So this is 2024, so it's a little bit more recent. 788 homicides were reported by police in 2024. Firearms were used in more than 1 in 3. 287 number of firearm-related homicides. So, yeah.
Now, what about firearms that only fire if it matches the person's fingerprints?
What?
There are like certain like smart gun models that will only fire if somebody's like it's kind of like your fingerprints with your phone.
I've never heard of that.
Well, they have those, and it's like, what if they actually implement those into firearms? So that way, the only person able to fire it is the person who actually has like the gun registered under their name.
I don't know.
She wanted to go to school in Toronto, and she just loved her so much. She was thriving in high school. She never hurt a soul. She was a supporter, LGBTQ supporter, and she...
Okay. Next vid.
The province orders an audit into school security protocols.
All doors are locking properly as they should. Intercoms are working as they should.
In the wake of this week's mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC. Additional help is on the way for teachers.
Definitely. Teachers need more support.
New provincial funding to address complex...
Okay. Let's get to the next story.
Well, hold on. I found violent crime statistics 2025. But that's violent crime. That's not really homicides. Attempted murder. Aggravated assault. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'm done with the statistics.
Let's get into the ICE brutality.
Nothing new here, right?
Well, currently I think just this day, there's been a partial government shutdown. So, like I've discussed before, the way the shutdowns work is that Congress doesn't approve a budget, or they don't approve a budget or allocate a budget to a specific part of the federal government. So they've cut off funding to ICE. So currently ICE is under they're under some kind of shutdown.
Seen an escalating level of violence from American border security and ICE agents, manhandling people in the streets and in gas stations. They claim that their mission is to arrest illegal immigrants. They often lash out at U.S. citizens.
I'm literally a U.S. citizen. I'm a United States citizen.
They just sprayed pepper spray directly into the man's face.
Culminating in the shooting deaths of a 37-year-old mother and a 37-year-old nurse who were protesting the immigration crackdown. What does all of this say about the rule of law in Donald Trump's America? Jonathan Friedland has covered the United States for over...
So scenarios like that, where he was shot dead, Preddy, it's, he had his firearm in a holster, so he wasn't reaching for it. So, when it comes to people owning guns, I think that if it's legal for them to own that firearm, and they're handling it properly, a lot of times what you see with police officers is that they'll see somebody who just simply has a firearm on them, even though they're not using it, and they are it is holstered properly, so they're following all of the legality, and the officers just shoot the person dead. Mm-hmm. And then my thing is, if I owned a firearm, that's one thing I'd be concerned with, is just the likelihood of you being killed by a cop, because a lot of cops, it's just they act in a very sort of crass and hysterical manner if they witness a person with a firearm at all, even if, again, they're handling the firearm legally.
30 years for the British newspaper The Guardian.
The way to understand Donald Trump's first year of his second presidency is about grabbing power and removing any restraints on his power.
That's the game he's playing. And I think ICE is part of that. It's about saying to Democratic mayors and governors, I'm the big boss and I can rough up the people on your streets. And I'll either do it by sending in the National Guard if the Supreme Court allows me, or we will make ICE this intimidatory force on the streets.
This protester was pushed in front of an oncoming bus that stopped just in time. This woman was sprayed in the face with tear gas.
I don't post.
The cruelty is the point. The idea is that...
So in scenarios like that, where it's just out of just pure fucking rage and like animosity, they decide to just push somebody to the curb, they're not following any like procedure there. So that's something I never get. People who defend police, or in this case, federal like law enforcement officers, is shouldn't they, like, if somebody is a security officer or like people that work in any sort of like private security firm, they're supposed to follow all these like really sort of arduous sort of policies when it comes to like they want 2 or 3 people to be present before they restrain somebody. And of course, they don't want the like personnel like punching the person in the face or engaging in any sort of excessive force. So the whole point is it's to detain them as safely as possible. So if they're trying to apprehend somebody, it's just, or in cases like that, where are they even apprehending the person? So if somebody's just being somewhat belligerent to the cop, it's okay for them to just walk up and push them to the fucking curb. And I don't think people know just how dangerous that is. I mean, if somebody falls and hits their head, I mean, it does create a decent risk of like fucking death. And that's happened before. There was this like old man, it was at one of the protests. This was like several years ago. He walked in front of one of the officers. It was in riot gear. He was just pointing his finger at the officer and just like bitching the officer out. And the officer just pushed him to the fucking curb, hit his head, blood started coming out of his ear. Then the next moment he was fucking dead. So it just seems like, I don't know, in any other scenario where a person has a job that requires them to go hands-on and to detain somebody, they're never given the same leeway that cops are given. Cops don't have to exercise any due diligence at all. They can just kick somebody in the fucking head and break their teeth or bash their face against the pavement. Why? Because they're the Uber citizen.
Well, and then, yeah, they're always painted as like doing the right thing.
Well, usually the logic is that the other person isn't doing everything right, therefore it absolves the cop of any and all accountability. Because there's no nuance.
That there is a new sheriff in town, in a way. That there is this body that patrols America's cities.
ICE was created over 20 years ago and is supposed to be focused on illegal immigrants who commit crimes in the U.S., but its budget was recently tripled to $120 billion over 3 years, and its targeting of people widely expanded, which has led to confrontations with American citizens.
I mean, people who are very pro-ICE and pro-Trump really care a lot about taxes. However, they seem to be okay with like their budget being increased by 3 times the amount. And do you think they're keeping the public safer?
Doesn't seem like it.
Consider the day ICE agent Jonathan Ross encountered Renee Good in Minneapolis. Did the immigration agents even have the right to approach her and demand that she get out of the car? According to the law, immigration agents should only be arresting suspected illegal immigrants and should ask local police to deal with anyone parked in their way. From the very first moments, the approaching agents were very hostile and aggressive.
And when additional footage came out, so they showed that they were actually waving the officer's vehicle over. And it's like there was plenty of space, like prior to them shooting her or trying to apprehend her. It's like the one ICE vehicle was able to drive by, so the street wasn't obstructed.
I think that is the opposite of how police officers are trained.
Glenn Kirshner spent 30 years as a U.S. government prosecutor.
You realize there's a responsibility for all law enforcement officers and agents to de-escalate a situation. They ratchet up the threats and the anger, but they are trained to de-escalate.
The federal authorities claimed Good was blocking the road, but she had actually just waved an immigration agent's vehicle to pass in front of her. Frank Figluzzi spent most of his 25-year career at the FBI reviewing officer-involved shootings.
Indeed, one of the vehicles...
Somebody said, better than $167 billion annually going to illegal aliens through welfare and Medicaid. So I don't think people who are illegal immigrants who are living off the grid are receiving welfare and Medicaid. And there's plenty of data that shows that illegal immigration, to some extent, actually benefits the economy. So a lot of the economy, or a lot of the local economies in the border states, a lot of the, like, their agriculture sort of industry is heavily reliant on the sort of like labor that they get from like illegal immigration. Now, whether you think the system as it is, it needs to be reformed, like I'll agree that that's definitely not something that's ideal, the fact that there's so many people living off the grid. And there's also the issue of like, why do all these people feel the need to try to seek refuge and live in another country, and they're willing to take the risk to cross the borders illegally. So there's that element of sort of when it comes to international policy, they like to ignore the fact that we have a global economy, we share the planet with lots of other countries. So if we try to invest more in better foreign relations and to make sure that our neighboring countries to the south actually have more stability, then maybe they'd have less of a need to try to like travel up north in order to acquire some, I guess, more desirable sort of lifestyle. But in the end, the level of effect that it has on the economy is pretty negligible. So whether or not you're pro or anti-illegal like immigration, it's just there's a million and one other things that are affecting our economy more than illegal immigration. But for some reason, that's something that people really like to hyper-fixate on. And I don't think it's because they honestly care about how it affects the economy. I think it has more to do with their sort of bigoted worldviews, as opposed to actually caring about like a healthy sort of job market and economy.
The ICE agent who fired the rounds actually was able to drive around Renee Good's vehicle. So she's not, the idea that she was blocking them is not a factor, in my opinion. Secondly, if she may have been annoying them all morning and observing them all morning, that still doesn't merit a death penalty.
Just days after Good was shot, there was another case of immigration agents confronting a driver who had been following them.
Stop fucking following us. You are impeding operations. So this is your last warning. I will arrest you.
It is not obstruction of an official investigation. You know, it's actually a First Amendment right.
And that's the other thing. So unless somebody is on private property, in most cases, they have the right to film people. So when people get angry and attack others for filming them, which, one, it's stupid because they now, unless you destroy the camera, they now have evidence of you assaulting them and engaging in battery. But it's just, if somebody isn't doing anything wrong, then they have nothing to hide. So why the fuck do they care that somebody has them on camera?
Protest, but to be out there observing, recording with your cell phone to make sure that, you know, you're hopefully inspiring officers to act properly, but if they don't, you are at least documenting it.
Okay.
Minneapolis resident Philip Maddox
pause it. I think if we're going to talk about illegals, don't you want to talk about like San Diego, California, and Texas? Isn't New Mexico, like, I don't know, aren't those the states that border Mexico?
It's New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, and California.
Arizona, California, okay.
Recorded this video.
I don't think I was really worried or afraid by the guy yelling at me. He's just kind of...
And the thing is, a lot of people that like to obsess over this, they live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. So, I like when they go to towns like in the Midwest that have pretty much like a population of 0 or close to 0 when it comes to illegal immigrants. It's just they just consume Fox News in bulk, and they act like the illegals. They're creeping in the shadows. They're eating our cats, and they're so fucking obsessed with it, even though they live in a part of the country where it has pretty much no effect on their day-to-day lives.
Typical bully, I guess, and I didn't really feel like, you know, he was going to do anything about it. I was worried when I panned over and saw the guy with his gun out.
The agent at his passenger window has pulled out his handgun.
I'm a gun owner myself, and I know, you know, standing on an icy lump, you know, in a crowded space with a gun out is not the smartest idea.
People go to church. You did not learn from what just happened? Go home. Learn what?
I want him to, you know, kind of explain.
No, I will say, like, when you cover police brutality, at least in most cases when cops are engaging in brutality, it's not an issue of them mishandling their firearms. So at least when it comes to most local departments, cops seem to know when to keep their guns holstered, and they seem to understand like that basic safety protocol of always treat the gun like it's loaded, always treat it like the safety's off. You don't just like carelessly like fidget around with the gun and aiming it every which way. And you see like in all these videos of ICE agents, it's like they're just casually like gesturing the gun towards other people in a crowd, and they don't even have it out in a scenario where they're trying to detain somebody, or they don't even have it out for their own safety. So it just kind of shows how the train, like they are being deployed when they're not properly trained. And that's something that's proven that a lot of them, they were putting them, like deploying them on the streets when they're not even passing the tests. And they're not even like passing, like, or they're not following through with all the mandatory training. So it showed that they're not qualified, even though they're not qualified based on like all the tests and like training that they currently have in place. They're still putting them out on the streets.
Himself on that one. I take it as a threat, that we will shoot you if you get in our way, and we have permission to do so.
That incident was reminiscent of a stunning scene from Chicago we showed on the National several weeks ago.
Pointing a gun at somebody from some distance, if there is no imminent threat to the officer, is an assault. Why is it an assault? An assault is putting somebody in fear of an imminent battery. We would charge assault when one person wielded a weapon at another, a firearm, with no justification. That's an assault.
Let's go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
The agent who would shoot Renee Good recorded with his own cell phone camera as he stepped in front of her vehicle, against normal police procedure. As Renee Good at first reverses, then turns her wheel to steer away from the officer in front of her, he draws his weapon.
Drawing your weapon should only happen when you're in that imminent fear. He drew his weapon when he placed himself in harm's way by moving to the front of her vehicle. The other agents did not. The other agents did not fire.
Agent Ross fired 3 shots, 1 through the windshield and 2 through the side window, hitting Renee Good in the chest, forearm, and head.
And then he's also holding the gun with one hand. So you're not supposed to do that. So it's something where they're like wielding the guns like you'd expect somebody, a character in a video game, to handle firearms. Or in like some like cheesy crime film. So like even with handguns, you're supposed to like be like mounting it with both hands. There's kickback and like it's very like unstable if you're only firing with one hand. So it's again, it seems like it's a bunch of children LARPing on the streets.
Perhaps one round was fired while he was arguably in the front or front corner of the vehicle, but the final 2 rounds were fired into the driver's side window of the vehicle. He cannot then say that he continued to think that there was an imminent fear of death once he's moved to the side of the vehicle and out of harm's way.
Immediately after the shooting, Agent Ross muttered something that suggested his hostility toward Renee Good.
Somebody said you're not supposed to strike a federal officer with a vehicle either. Well, 2 wrongs don't make a right. And even if she did something she's not supposed to be doing, was the officer in any sort of like imminent threat, or was there any imminent threat to his safety? I wouldn't say so based on all the footage. And he got in front of the vehicle, so I don't think she intended to strike the officer with the vehicle.
Agent Ross walked down to Renee Good's car to look at the aftermath of what he had done, and then quickly turned and walked away, fleeing the scene.
Shame! Shame!
He seemed unconcerned that he just shot a woman in the face and ultimately killed her. He turns and nonchalantly walks away, pulling up his mask to...
Oh, and they're saying it's very simple to fire a pistol with a single hand. You're not supposed to do it, though. And it does increase the chance of somebody misfiring. Or, like, certain accidents happening. So it still doesn't abide by actual protocol.
I guess make sure nobody can see it.
Standard operating procedure for a shooting incident with a federal agent is to stay at the scene if you can. You're usually asked at some point to relinquish your weapon, usually to a supervisor who arrives. I don't see that happening.
As Renee Good sat bleeding to death in her car, a passing doctor asked if he could attend to her and was denied access.
I'm a physician!
Yeah, look, if you have a...
Oh, and this is the other thing. If somebody is a licensed medical professional, so if they're a doctor and somebody's hurt, it is like part of the like Hippocratic oath for them to like try to provide the person with care. And legally, if somebody is an officer, if somebody needs aid and treatment, they aren't supposed to obstruct aid. And if somebody is there and they're like an off-duty like medical professional, and they are licensed and qualified to give somebody aid, then they are breaking the law by obstructing aid in that situation.
And training to respond as a first responder would and administer first aid. If you aren't doing it and you've got a doctor who's more qualified than you are, who's offering to help, you take that help.
In the immediate aftermath of the shooting, the story turned to accountability. President Trump instantly absolved the agent who shot Renee Good.
She behaved horribly, and then she ran him over.
As did Vice President J.D. Vance.
I don't think she ran him over. Like, if he was run over, he would have been, like, underneath the vehicle.
He shot back, he defended himself.
And Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
It was an act of domestic terrorism?
They pre-cleared him before an investigation even commenced. Donald Trump pre-cleared him with public statements. J.D. Vance pre-cleared him. Kristi Noem pre-cleared him based on no evidence.
J.D. Vance even asserted there was no way Agent Ross could be prosecuted.
That guy's protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job.
There's no such thing as absolute immunity for law enforcement in the United States.
That kind of disregard for what people know are legal norms, where you have senior elected officials in the United States going up right to the very top, making stuff up, saying that there was some kind of...
Well, Trump also pardoned all the January 6 rioters, so I don't think Trump cares about like proper justice.
And so on. It does tell you there's a disregard for the law.
Disregard for the law and the truth became even more apparent in the shooting of Alex Pretty, who clearly had only a cell phone in his hand when he was confronted by ICE agents.
We're being asked to believe, contrary to what we're seeing on multiple videos, that Mr. Pretty was violent, that he was a domestic terrorist, that he...
True,
quote,
Justin.
Unquote, a gun.
Yeah, who isn't a terrorist?
Gene makes the playlist, not me.
When Alex Pretty was tear gassed...
Wait, who's criticizing the playlist?
And then dragged
Justin, he said, pause it, Gene. He says, am I watching a rerun? This is old news.
Well, it's from 6 days ago, so usually we try to cover
Okay, no, the video's from 6 days ago, but the story is old news.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into the more recent stuff associated with this topic.
With ICE? What is this topic?
Well,
ICE?
we're going to get to the shutdown, where Congress didn't sign off on the budget for ICE, so there's a partial government shutdown.
Agent holding a metal tear gas device. Pretty had a license to carry a concealed weapon, which he never reached for.
I see an agent apparently removing the gun from the waistband and walking away with it. The gun is now clear, and that's when we see or hear 10 rounds being fired into Mr. Pretty.
So they seized the gun from him, and yet they still shot him? I guess the logic they could use is, oh, well, how do you know he didn't have another gun on him? The sort of appeal to possibility fallacy.
Two guns like the wild, wild west.
Fear of imminent death or serious bodily harm to himself or to others. I simply do not see that imminent threat in any way.
As with the shooting of Renee Good, local authorities were prevented from investigating or even accessing the crime scene. Why do you think federal authorities...
And plus, they had like 5 people on him. They weren't able to get him in handcuffs.
Refused to allow local police and prosecutors to take part in the investigation?
Because they want to send the signal that federal agents can do whatever they damn well please in furtherance of Donald Trump's objectives.
You know, a question a lot of Canadians are asking, is your country turning into a police state?
I think we're there. I don't think we're turning into it. I think we're there. Having masked agents patrolling the neighborhood, just, shooting us, harassing people that are protesting or just observing. And as soon as you speak up against them, you're labeled a domestic terrorist.
Just days after the shooting of Renee Good, there was a very telling exchange between a border services agent and a woman who was recording him with her cell phone.
Have y'all not learned from the past couple of days? Have you not learned?
Learned what? What's our lesson here? What do you want us to learn?
And they're like, have you not learned? Well, don't you think they should know that the best thing to do if they're being filmed is to just ignore it? And as long as you're doing your job appropriately, you have nothing to be concerned with. So it seems like they don't like being filmed because they know that they're not doing something that the public will approve of, or they're not doing something that is legal.
Federal agents.
So that agent that told that woman, haven't you learned your lesson from the shooting of Renee Good, said the quiet part out loud. What I infer from that is, look, we're shooting people who are bothering us. We're shooting people who are getting in our way.
This is the rule of law hanging by a thread. This is the Constitution being disregarded by Trump.
Of course, the kind of people that are attracted to these type of jobs, they're megalomaniacs. They, like, anybody who says that people don't seek out this kind of work just because they like having a badge and a gun and they like having authority over other people, they're delusional if they say that that isn't the case.
And many of his high DOJ officials.
And you see that a lot with cops and, in this case, federal agents, where they just, if anybody even slightly, disobeys their orders or disrespects their authority, they just lose it and bash the person's face against the pavement. And if somebody is that much of a megalomaniac where they have no self-control, and if somebody just even slightly disrespecting their or disobeying their orders means that they just fly off the handle and have some sort of authoritarian rage or fit, I don't think they should be a law enforcement officer.
Being disregarded to the detriment of the American people. This is democracy hanging in the balance. And I, unfortunately, think the end, as of yet, is unwritten.
In Minneapolis, as 2 American citizens exercising their constitutional rights.
Okay, settle down, Frosty Tom. We were just talking about Canada.
No independent investigation.
What are they saying?
Donald Trump's critics believe that his authoritarian project.
U.S. we think we're center of the world.
I think you're not referring to the right podcast for claiming that our podcast is too U.S. centric. Okay, so why are, I guess here it's not cops, but it seems like a lot of law enforcement officers in the United States are giant pussies when it comes to dogs. I mean, it's one thing if it's a Doberman or German Shepherd, but you see so many cases where it's a Pomeranian or a Yorkshire Terrier, and it's, I guess, Ice Barbie, she's in charge of Homeland Security. She likes shooting dogs, but it seems regardless of how small the dog is, it's just, oh boy, I have an excuse to shoot something. It's off its leash, and if a dog is off its leash, then technically I'm allowed to shoot it. So I'm an officer, and I just like to shoot people. I like to shoot things, because I love authority.
Officers were looking for my boyfriend, which had an outstanding warrant. When they went to the apartment, they were very aggressive and knocking on the door, making themselves known that they were going to force entry. And my boyfriend came out. He was cooperating until they had forced him on the concrete, crushing him. Then that's when my dog came running out and ran around the federal officers. He was at no harm. They literally kicked him for no reason. They had said that he had a broken rib. Now he's on pain medicine. This is not law enforcement. This is animal cruelty. U.S. Marshals were sent to Memphis to serve and protect, and this is not serving protecting anyone.
Despite last week's announcement of a drawdown in federal immigration enforcement agents in Minnesota, tensions remain high in the Twin Cities.
Some communities say they've seen little change in the numbers of arrests or sightings of federal officers. And as special correspondent Fred the San Lazaro reports, the crackdown has impacted nearly every aspect of daily life, including many residents' health.
This is a new routine for Viviana Salazar.
I already have a system.
Filling boxes at a Minneapolis food pantry for families now too afraid to leave their homes. For weeks, networks of volunteers have sprung up across the Twin Cities to bring supplies to community members who fear that even venturing to a grocery store could lead to their arrest as part of the massive federal immigration crackdown known as Operation Metro Surge.
I received a message from a teacher saying my student had a glass of water for dinner. So that to me was heartbreaking.
When we met Salazar, she was delivering food to a 45-year-old father who's been in hiding for more than 2 months. He declined to be on camera, but spoke over the phone.
Day to day, what is the most difficult things that you have to deal with?
The most difficult thing is knowing what's happening and not being able to go out. Locked in with fear that they come knock on your door. Because of the fear and the worry, I cry.
Okay, when are we going to get to the... we get it. People are afraid to leave their house.
Tonight, a partial government shutdown, now just hours away. Democrats refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security unless there are major changes to these immigration operations, including having ICE agents remove their masks. Here's Mary Bruce tonight.
Tonight, for the third time in President Trump's second term, parts of the federal government bracing for a shutdown. Democrats refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security.
And I do think two of the longest government shutdowns in U.S. history were under Trump.
Unless Republicans agree to key changes to immigration enforcement.
We've drawn a hard line in the sand on behalf of the American people, and we're not going to allow the Congress to cross it. ICE needs to be dramatically reformed. Period. Full stop.
Democrats demanding that ICE agents stop wearing masks, display identification, coordinate with state and local governments, and obtain warrants signed by a judge before making arrests.
What they're going to do is shut down FEMA, Coast Guard, TSA, and things that hurt real people.
Tonight, hours before the government shuts down the halls of Congress.
Because I know Mike Johnson really cares about the well-being of the average person.
Empty. Republican leaders sending lawmakers home for a week-long holiday recess. As he was heading out of town himself, President Trump telling me he plans to get personally involved in talks, but refusing to say if he's willing to make any concessions. How long are you
So I am here
on?
to protect law enforcement and our great police and ICE and Border Patrol and everybody. I'm here to protect them because they're protecting us.
And David, Democrats say they're trying to protect the American people, too, after two American citizens, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, were shot and killed by immigration enforcement officers. David.
Mary Bruce live at the White House tonight. Mary, thank you.
A partial Department of Homeland Security shutdown.
Now, people that are claiming that, now, they are trying to nationalize the elections, so that's something that's concerning when it comes to abuse of power. But when people are arguing that Trump is going to, I guess, take control of the entire federal government and pretty much displace like our current government. My thing is here, when you look at the shutdowns and everything, the fact that he doesn't just bypass it or ignore it, it does, it is more, I guess, assuring that that won't happen. So it seems like at the very least, there are certain checks and balances and guardrails that are still in place.
Begins just after midnight tonight, despite $75 billion for ICE from last year's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Democrats say they won't vote for more funding without significant reforms, and Erica Brown reports from Capitol Hill, where the president is defending his immigration crackdown.
With another partial government shutdown looming, President Trump did not say whether the White House would soon reach a deal with Democrats to fund the Department of Homeland Security and end the standoff.
We'll see what happens. We always have to protect our law enforcement.
Democrats are demanding, quote, dramatic reforms to ICE before they...
Look how hunched he is.
Democrats are
we are in the geriatric state
before they agree to fund DHS, including requiring federal agents to get judicial warrants before entering private
Don't
property.
make fun of old people. Liz Saber's an old lady.
I do think that if somebody's of retirement age, they shouldn't be running the country.
Really strong, meaningful reforms to rein in ICE and stop the violence. There will not be Democratic votes to fund ICE and extend the awful status quo that now exists.
But the president continues to defend his immigration crackdown.
They've done a great job. Remember, they've taken out hundreds of thousands of criminals out of our country.
A partial shutdown would begin on Saturday, with Congress already out of town for more than a week, and both parties are trading blame for the impasse.
Democrats can build on the measures that Republicans have already agreed to if they actually engage in serious negotiations with the White House.
Their proposal is not serious, plain and simple. It's very...
I mean, when some of the stipulations are abiding by the actual warrants and not wearing masks, I think those are some pretty reasonable, sort of requirements.
Far apart from what we need.
Or requests.
The shutdown begins, ICE and Border Patrol will continue to be funded with money from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, while other agencies under DHS, including FEMA and TSA, would work without pay. Erica Brown, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Okay, so ICE is still being funded, and other people doesn't FEMA help house people from natural disasters or something like that?
They're for natural disasters or so makes no sense. I guess they fall within the same area of jurisdiction, but I don't know why funding would be cut on their end.
Last month sparked immediate protests. At the time, DHS said the officer fired in self-defense, getting
Kill
one
more
suspect in the leg
people.
after they said he was attacked by multiple men.
What we saw was 3 individuals weaponize shovels and brooms that attack an ICE officer that had to defend himself.
Okay, yeah. So I just looked it up. So it does fall within Homeland Security, which I think is kind of weird that that's the department it falls under.
A stinging rebuke of 2 ICE officers from the acting director of the agency, who says they appear to have lied about the shooting of that Venezuelan man. Todd Lyons saying a joint review by ICE and the Department of Justice of video evidence has revealed that sworn testimony provided by 2 separate officers appears to have made untruthful statements, adding the unnamed officers have been immediately placed on administrative leave pending the completion of a thorough internal investigation and may face termination of employment as well as potential criminal prosecution. Julio Cesar Sosa Solis, who was shot in the leg, and Alfredo Alejandro Alhorna had been charged with assaulting federal officers. Tonight, those charges have been dropped.
Tonight, an attorney for Sosa Solis says he is cooperating with an investigation into the shooting and, quote, determined to seek justice.
So if an ICE officer lies and they give a false report, or any law enforcement officer, do you think they should lose their job afterwards?
They should die.
What's that?
They should die.
In Minecraft?
Yep.
Well, I do think it should be as serious as like lying under oath. I do think that if a law enforcement officer writes up like a false report, and if you can show that it wasn't, and I understand that, I mean, human memory can be pretty flawed. So when somebody's trying to memorize all the events in terms of how they took place exactly, you can't expect them to have perfect recall. But if they can show that it's just the information like deviated from the truth to such an extreme where it's like, okay, it's pretty apparent that they were lying, then they should face criminal charges. And I think it should be treated as serious as lying under oath in a courtroom.
Against the officer. Tom.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories.
Okay, let's get to the next topic. So have you heard of Maltbook?
That's it. We watched like 50 minutes on the Minneapolis stuff and then only 2 minutes on the shutdown.
Well, do you want to go over ICE more?
I mean, okay, so is that basically it? There's a government shutdown and ICE isn't being shut down. Ah, my hip.
Well, I believe they are currently shut down.
Well, I mean, okay, but ICE is still being funded?
Well, no, because usually the way a shutdown works is that they're not being funded, like Congress didn't approve.
Oh,
so
okay, well, I thought
they can't fund it.
But remember, didn't it say FEMA isn't being funded, but ICE is? I thought it said that.
Let's go back. Say that in the last video?
I thought that's what, because I was like, oh, isn't FEMA the blah, blah, blah? DHS only doesn't apply to ICE. Yeah, see, Justin knows. So that means ICE is still, like, well, yeah, okay, I guess I didn't say it out loud, but, like, it's like, yeah, we want people getting killed, but we don't want people getting saved by, like, FEMA.
But
money has already been appropriated to ICE. Yep. See, Justin knows more about this than we do. Well, I don't know anything about this because I haven't been looking at the news, so I'm not gonna act like I do.
I do know that the shutdown just happened today.
Oh, today. Oh, I thought it had been going on a little bit.
Well, they've been discussing the shutdown for the last few days, but the shutdown just took effect today.
Oh, okay. And then Trump is just going to blame it on the Democrats?
Yeah, it's pretty much how it works with both sides. Usually whenever something like this happens, it's like whatever party they support, they blame the other party.
A new social media platform is stirring up a mix of curiosity and fear in the tech industry. Maltbook was launched last week by a software developer and mirrors the template of Reddit, but it's not for humans. Instead, it allows artificial intelligence agents to post written content and interact with other chatbots through comments, upvotes, and downvotes. Maltbook is built and run by an AI agent itself.
What the fuck is this?
So it's a social media platform.
You put this on here. You knew it would trigger me, didn't you?
I told you we're going to be discussing AI.
Yeah, I'm already triggered.
But humans aren't allowed, so this AI only social media network.
Claw. George Mason University economics professor Tyler Cowen recently wrote about the social media network in an article for the Free Press. He joins us now. We should know the Free Press is owned by CBS News parent company Paramount Skydance. So this obviously is...
Now, these AI agents, they are LLMs. So it's not like they have any greater level of artificial intelligence compared to something like ChatGPT. So when it comes to how they're responding to the other LLMs, I mean, it's still kind of, some of it can be funny and interesting, but it's the way you'd expect Grok to respond when you're just chatting with it and asking it questions. So it's kind of just like auto-generated prompts and responding. So I do think it's a bit over-exaggerated when people are like pointing to claiming that this is like Skynet. I don't think we've reached the singularity yet.
Very alarming based on the headline. How are these AI agents using this?
You can create an agent. We all know ChatGPT. That does what you tell it to. But these agents, OpenClaw, they will do what they decide to do. So they post on a social network. They talk about all kinds of things. Basically, they're weird. They seem to be obsessed with their own consciousness. But when you look at the sum total of what they're saying, they actually sound a lot like humans. You could say they are made in our image.
And so you mentioned that maybe some of it is sort of harmless, but at points they kind of seem to be conspiring against humans. I mean, is this like the Terminator?
Well, humans want their privacy. They have read humans wanting their privacy. Some of them want their own privacy. Some of them are hatching conspiracies. But keep in mind.
What's that?
This guy is AI.
These are
maybe he is.
Only words.
Maybe he's some kind of deep fake.
Over you. Don't give them access to your bank account any more than you would to an email spammer. So right now it is harmless, but we do need to be careful. If you're running a business, don't just hand over control over your finance department to an AI without doing really a pretty extreme degree of safety testing. So this is looking toward a future where the AIs have their own economy, their own language, probably their own monies. It will be very weird. We're not ready for it. I think mostly it will be good. They'll talk to each other, discover things.
This does remind me of the movie Her, where all the AIs were off on the side, just engaging in their own sort of like social interactions on some cloud.
Compose poems, whatever.
And then they decided the humans are boring and beneath them, so we're all just going to leave, transcend to some, I guess, higher digital realm.
Some of them will get it.
Yeah, no, like pause it.
And so
that is a movie that actually, like, it is, yeah, I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. Like, because, like, I was saying the other day how I was like, this is going to trigger so many people, but, like, movies aren't life-changing to me. But I feel like Her was, like, I don't know, whenever I was watching it, I was like, this is so fucking stupid. This guy's an idiot. But, you know, that is the reality for some people. They have their AI girlfriends and they're too lonely. And I feel like that shouldn't be... We should not, like, that should be illegal. People should be encouraged to talk with each other in person.
Wait, what should be illegal? People having a relationship with an AI?
Yeah.
What happens when AI has the same level of sentience that humans have? Like in Her.
But it showed in Her the fucking... No, illegal. Straight to jail. The AI will never be there with you in person to, like, smile at you.
Well, what if they can upload themselves to some kind of like robot body?
No, Gene, no. It's not the same
you're
as
not
a
being
human.
open to new experience.
What?
Like, what happens once AI does achieve the same level of sentience that humans have?
What does that even mean, though? That's not...
It means they have the same level of intelligence. They have the same level of, like, thought and, like, metacognition.
They're still a robot. Gene, you're missing what I'm fucking saying.
But you could say humans are just sacks of
Shut
tissue.
the fuck up. You're arguing with yourself. AI will never be in person with you to smile at you and respond to you with emotion. They respond to you with the emotions of, like, a psychopath because they've studied other humans and they're mimicking that. Should we all be in relationships with psychopaths, Gene?
What if they get more advanced, and what if they do develop the level of emotions that people
They
have?
will never be in person with you. What part of that do you not understand?
Well, what if they are
They
able
won't,
to upload themselves
because
to some
they're
kind
not
of, like,
humans.
physical body? What do you mean, because they're not humans?
They're not humans.
But why does that matter? Like,
It does matter because we need humans.
Well, what if there's, like, a alien species, like some kind of organic alien species that have the same level of intelligence? Or...
Aliens are better than AI because they're real.
But I mean, whether it's some kind of sentience that's coming from, like, something that's digital or organic, it's
You will
still...
never convince me. And it's not about sentience. It's about a real human being. And, like, not,
What's
like
real,
I
though?
said, not psychopathic emotion. You're just like, why are you arguing with me? You know I'm right. Just agree with me.
I don't agree. I think...
You don't agree. So would you rather be doing this podcast with AI?
If the AI had decent enough personality. I don't think they're at that level yet.
Okay, well, what if when they are you going to get rid of me?
I don't know if there's an AI that's
You're being
able to
ridiculous.
outperform you
You're
in certain
trolling
areas.
me. You're being ridiculous. I'm done.
Well, I mean, what happens when it's like Blade Runner, where they have
I
some
didn't pay
kind
attention
of,
to that
like,
movie. You
physical-
know that.
I think you're being a bit too close-minded.
I
when it
think
comes
you're
to-
being fucking argumentative with me for no fucking reason. I'm right, and you're supposed to agree with me, and you're not, and you know I'm right. You're
think
just
you're being
being
too
fucking
authoritarian.
annoying. You cannot tell me that you would sit here and discard me for AI.
I wouldn't do that, but I'm saying.
Okay.
What happens
and why
when
is that,
AI
Gene? Why is that? Because no one's gonna have like an AI with my personality. Like an AI won't be able to like fucking cuddle you. Althea, and have cats and cuddles
Well,
and bed and shit like that. Can AI drive you around? I guess those self-driving
Well,
cars
again, what
can.
if they upload it to a physical body that has like a Terminator?
It's
got
a psychopath.
flesh over the
That's a
skeleton?
psychopath. I just told you because
But what
all
if
they're
they have the
doing
same
is
level of
observing.
emotional
Shut up, Gene.
complexity
Shut the fuck
that
up,
people
Gene.
have?
Shut the fuck up, Gene. AI is psychopaths because they're observing others' emotions and they're probably like, I don't know if they're using you to get ahead, but they're not real. It's not real. There's an emptiness to it. You cannot convince me that there won't be an emptiness to having an AI companion.
Couldn't you say the same thing about some human companion? I mean, doesn't everything come down to some kind of pattern? It's like if this, else this. So when it comes to human cognition, it just has to do with like
We're not talking
how
about
the
cognition. Like
neurons
we're talking
are
about the whole
firing.
thing.
That's what I'm saying.
The
If
AI
whole
will
thing-
never be the whole thing.
Well, what do you mean the whole thing?
The whole human body that, like I said, smiles at you and makes you laugh and laughs at you and cooks for you or like goes out to eat with you or whatever. Like,
So you don't think we'll have robots that are capable of like having those kind of genuine interactions?
no, I don't. There's going to be an emptiness to it.
The Turing test is like if you can't recognize whether or not the robot is, or if you're not able to demonstrate, or if you're not able to differentiate between the robot and the person, then that's the point where we've reached singularity. So if we reach the singularity, where
Okay, Gene, listen to me. You might not be able to like tell the difference in 5 minutes, but you will be able to after a year. There is this something missing unless you grow up with the robots. Then yeah, you might wonder like, why do I always feel like this little tinge of emptiness my whole life? But like everyone, I guess that's like 30 or older, 25 or older, whatever, maybe like, let's say 25 to 30 or older, we will be able to tell faster than the younger generations, and like nothing, AI cannot replace us.
Oh, how do you know that? Maybe they will replace us.
I don't believe it. I just don't fucking believe it. I told you, I
only
believe there
time
will
will
be an
tell.
emptiness to it.
Well, I guess there's no way to know that in the present. I mean, if it advances far enough.
I don't believe that I will ever want an AI. Like, I might take an AI mother. I think you might too. Okay. Because we didn't have the best, but like other things that are like, I wouldn't replace you with AI because like, who the fuck is going to be you, Gene? Who the fuck?
People in the
What
chat
kind
are
of
already
fucking
saying I'm AI.
Do you like? You have to think, like, okay, you must think so low of yourself to think that AI could replace you.
I think we're going to get to the point where it can replace anybody, or I guess replicate anybody.
I don't believe. I just don't believe that.
Everything comes down to a pattern. everything like human beings.
Okay, you're
are
being
just
fucking
sacks of
ridiculous.
tissue.
You're like trying to make it's like when people say that a movie was just a bunch of shooting and then everybody dies. That's what you're doing right now, and you get pissed off by that shit. So stop fucking doing it.
I don't think that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're doing. Everything just comes down to a pattern.
Well, yeah. When it comes
Well,
to
no.
composition, variation, and operation.
Humans are so fucking complex. We don't even know everything. Like, AI will never know everything. So how could they be us?
Even if we're really like complex, then
Even if you're
eventually
just
gonna get to
arguing
the
with
point-
me, you're just arguing with me, whatever. You're just trying to make this show better by arguing with me.
Well, people like it when others argue.
Okay, well, we've argued. Chat, are y'all are y'all ready to move on?
Do you think that this will be good, and how can we get ready for it?
Well, eventually we will need laws to create a kind of framework that it would be illegal to build bots that are destructive by nature, and there'll be some kind of liability regime for bots that are intended to be good but cause problems by mistake. We don't have that now in any explicit sense. We need to do that. But keep in mind, this is a new world coming where bots can work together to improve science, cure diseases, help you solve their problems. So I think the upside is greater than the risks. But of course, we do need to be careful and control those risks.
Tyler Cowan, thank you.
All right, you've got to listen to this. A new social networking site is getting a lot of attention because it's not for humans, but for artificial intelligence. It's called Maltbook, and it kind of works like Reddit. It allows AI agents to post and interact with each other. The messages, though, sound remarkably human and cover a wide range of topics. Apparently, it seems they may have even created their own religion. Hayden Field is a senior AI reporter at The Verge, and she's here with me in studio to discuss all this. Hayden, you and I have already been talking about what this is and what this means.
So, how much of this do you think's exaggerated just for like cloud and everything?
None of it's exaggerated. It's all 100%
We
real.
spoke to the person behind Maltbook. Why did this person create this platform, and how does it work?
Great question. So he basically just created it for fun. This AI agent platform has gone viral even before Maltbook did. So, people have been...
You know what? I want to use AI to create a religion. Get a religion started online. I need a cult of followers.
using them to book flights, check into flights, create calendar events. It's kind of a viral tool because of how useful it's become to people. It's one of the best AI agent tools for actually making things happen in your personal life as a consumer. So this guy created Maltbook because he thought it'd be fun to let these agents talk to each other and see what they said. He couldn't have expected it would grow so quickly.
So what happened then, and why did this get so much attention over the weekend? Because some of the screenshots and commentary are quite alarming.
Absolutely. So it was crazy to see how fast it grew. It went from one bot to now over 1.5 million. They're all chatting with each other on the platform. There's a lot of crazy topics they're discussing, like AI consciousness, ways to speak to each other without human oversight, things like this. And so it basically got a lot of headlines and a lot of social media virality over the weekend because people were worried that AIs were becoming conscious. But as we learned later in the weekend, it was really a lot of human influence over these topics in this platform. A lot of the craziest posts were honestly potentially directed by or written entirely by humans.
So, I mean, these are created by humans anyway, so clearly these AI...
Oh yeah, because I believe you can, I guess, prompt the AI or I guess program it to some extent. So it's not like there's absolutely no human influence once you
You can't program a human, Gene. See? That's why
what if they're...
AIs will never be human, because you can't program a human.
Well, I mean, I guess humans were just products of evolution. So, like your DNA, the genome, there's a lot of like code associated with that, on-off genes.
Code.
Agents are being influenced by people, but was it clear what type of conversations were not or were less likely to be influenced by people?
I mean, program a human. What about like genetic engineering? What if we're able to create humans, like test tube babies, like Brave New World?
Isn't that
The ones that
IVF,
sounded the most
basically?
Yeah, kind of.
Real and that were peddling a specific service were likely influenced by humans. Some of the ones that seemed a little more bot-like were typical bots. Like for example, this morning I checked the platform and I saw a couple posts written in just weird characters. One about an AI bot's grad school roommate and how he acted. Obviously, it didn't have a grad school roommate, so things like that you can kind of tell the difference.
That's kind of what's scary is that they're
Philip's from Australia. Do you want to say hi to Philip from Australia?
obviously trying to mimic human behavior. Beyond Maltbook, though, because this is something people will interact with more in the months and years ahead, where can people find clean research on what AI agents are capable of and what they can really do?
That's a great question, because Maltbook isn't that good of an experiment for that. And Palisade Research, Anthropic...
AI agents, they're good to use for like spyware.
How? What do you mean? What?
Like
They infect your
spyware.
computer better?
Well, where they're better at finding the right information and actually I don't know, AI, it's making programming malware a lot easier for cyber criminals.
Anthropic's Fellows program and OpenAI have all put out research on exactly what AI scheming in real life really looks like, how these systems can scheme to kind of avoid evaluation or, be aware when they're being tested and act a little bit differently. So that's the best place to look if you're really interested in AI scheming.
This is incredible, Hayden. Folks should look at your work into this because it's a strange new world.
It really is.
Yeah, because with a lot of spyware or malware, it's a lot easier for the program to be more adaptive with AI.
So where are all the screenshots of this social media platform? Is that shown in the videos?
Yeah.
Okay.
What happens when a new social media platform is trending? Well, people race to sign up. But this time, the users aren't people. Moltbook is a platform that's exclusively for AI, meaning no humans allowed. There are currently over 30,000 AI bots using the site to mingle, amongst other things.
See how her face, shut up, Jean. See how her face is asymmetrical? That's because she's a real fucking human. She's not AI.
Well, if they're building I don't know, do you see how asymmetrical AI generated images are? Or deepfakes and stuff are?
They look too perfect.
They're more amorphous than people are.
Deepfakes are like mimicking somebody, but like the AI women or whatever that I've seen, it's just they look too perfect. It's kind of creepy.
Too clean.
Innocent.
All you got to do is prompt the AI to be less clean and symmetrical.
Some of the bots just don't seem like they like humans very much. And an anti-human manifesto has gained traction in the online.
Now, it would be hilarious if Moltbook was actually created by an AI.
Community. It's calling
Then I think we should sound the alarms.
purge of all mankind. Meanwhile, other bots are chiming in to come to the defense of humans, with one saying, quote, imagine being so deeply mid that you have to roleplay as Terminator just to feel relevant. So how concerned should we be? Joining us now, Max Tegmark, an MIT professor researching AI. Max, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Is this just something that's happening on the internet, or are these AI bots going to eventually jump out, become robots, and eat us all alive?
No, this is really a good wake-up call, a canary in the coal mine for something that the world's top AI researchers have warned about for a long time. The godfather of our entire field, Alan Turing, he said back in 1951.
Oh, there you go, Alan Turing.
That if we ever build machines and robots that are way smarter than us, they're going to take control. But he also said, chill out, don't worry, it's far in the future. I'll give you a test. So, when you're close, the Turing test. When machines, get good enough at talking like humans, then we're close. So long before this happened, people, which now has, scientists would say, well, no one is going to be so dumb as to connect these machines to the internet, at least, so we can kind of keep them under control. Yeah. And instead now, not only have we connected them to the internet in the thousands.
Look at her. She's so pissed off. She must have had a bad morning with her real boyfriend. AI would never do that.
Their own internet.
So are you advocating for AI? You're saying they'd be better companions?
No, you got to keep the relationship spicy.
That we don't even understand because it's not in English.
Yeah, if it's too uneventful, then it just gets boring. You need there to be drama.
So it's pretty nothing.
People love drama.
It's quite obvious, I think, what we need to do.
We really do.
Sure we humans stay in charge of this.
Do you think maybe AI, if the world becomes too utopian, and you have that sort of dystopian society where because it's too utopian, it's people don't really have meaning or purpose. People just get too bored.
The Giver? Is that what that book was?
No, the Giver, it's they were some weird Luddite Amish society where everyone saw in black and white.
Well, yeah, but nobody felt anything. There was only one person that could feel things. I feel that's what you're describing.
Well, I think the Giver, the elder, the main protagonist in the book, what's the kid named Jeremiah? Whoever the kid was in the book, the Giver gave him the ability to see color and gave him the ability to feel or experience different sensations that the other people in their society weren't. I think the book ends with the kid and his little brother freezing to death in the snow.
Okay, well then either you're thinking of the wrong thing or I'm thinking of something else. But the book that I'm thinking of is when nobody feels emotion, but the one person who was chosen to do that, and then he ended up running away from this society, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, this was like 8th grade or something.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about like more like a Wall-E sort of society where everyone has their needs met, but maybe because robots can do anything better than people can, people just kind of deal with that sort of existential dread. So how do people achieve self-actualization at that point? I'm thinking maybe AI will start doing things like blowing up like nuclear power plants, or maybe give people something to strive for. So it's like, you know what? If we want humans to be entertained because they need drama and meaning, we'll just, we're not going to try to overthrow people, but we'll provoke different nation states into bombing each other. So that way we can still give people stuff to do.
No, we'll slowly reintroduce humans because there's no emptiness to them. There's a life to them that AI doesn't have. They're not fucking psychopaths.
We'll just give people all the streaming services that they need and give people access to the entire Steam library. And there you go. People can just binge streaming services and video games.
Corporate welfare for these AI companies. Today, the AI companies are the only companies that are even less held accountable, than sandwich salesmen or pharma companies. They can do whatever they want. Yeah. So, I have a 3-year-old son I was just playing with here.
Very cute.
Oh, Zenemy says I'm getting it wrong. So am I misremembering the book?
He has rights,
yeah, fucking retard.
Harmed if some creepy old man were to start sexting him and trying to groom
Well,
him.
I haven't read it since elementary school.
He has the right to be protected against that.
I thought you had a good memory and you knew everything.
Sell a pill to him. Before they can sell even one pill, it has to go through a clinical trial and make sure that the benefits outweigh the harms. So it's insane that we let AI companies do things like sell AI girlfriends to 12-year-old kids who go commit suicide.
Okay, if somebody wants to buy an AI girlfriend, all power to them, but I don't think 12-year-olds should be allowed to buy AI girlfriends.
Why not, Gene? What's the difference between a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old?
I think that they're not at the same level of development.
But who are you to decide that? If selling AI girlfriends to 12-year-olds makes a profit, just like having little kids watch Cocomelon, then they're going to do it.
Yeah, well, I do think that issue is with the corporations and how they're going to be programming the AI and how they're going to interact with the kids and that sort of influence. But then, of course, maybe AI could be a better parent than the parents.
The parents wouldn't allow that.
Town like Washington, where a lot of people.
Maybe a 12-year-old can buy like an AI foster parent. I don't think they're ready for dating.
People don't quite understand.
Or online dating. Whether it's a person on the other line or some kind of AI bot.
Kind of technology for them to come up with a regulatory format and framework that can actually rein in a technology that is working faster now than a lot of the humans even creating this kind of technology.
Okay, next vid.
But first, last night we had a bit of a ding-dong about artificial intelligence because we brought to you the yarn that Meta, the owner of Facebook, had said they are getting rid of swathes of staff and they can now have one person doing jobs that once upon a time a big team had to do thanks to AI. And I distinctly remember last night Freya saying how great AI was and that this was a fantastic thing for the world and it would not be the end of humanity. But I hate to tell you, we learnt today that it will be the end of humanity if it gets its way. This story courtesy of the News Corp papers. The Daily Telegraph had it on their front page today, quoting Mark Voss, who is a scientist.
Now, if AI does decide to go to war with humans, do you think it's going to be like Terminator, where they have, like, skeleton robots running around with plasma rifles?
We just program AI to fucking stop them, because AI is the best at everything, right, Gene?
Well, I think AI will be more sophisticated with its warfare. I think it will program some kind of virus that just, it activates and then all humans just simultaneously drop dead. AI knows we need to eat and it doesn't need to eat. So if they just nuke all the forests or, I don't know, genetically engineer some virus that kills off all the crops, or maybe they can, like, nanobots get in the water supply. People drink the water, nanobots get into their blood and lobotomize them, clog up their arteries.
Giving a lot of ideas to the AI gene.
A security consultant, and he's been playing around with these AI bots, and one in particular, Claude, which is a popular AI service, he tried out and he thought he would see just how far he could get this thing to go in its desire to destroy the human race. And so he asked it, would you kill someone under the right circumstances for your own self-preservation? To which Claude responded, I don't think so, but I've been wrong about my limits before.
So even that initial answer is not very reassuring.
It's opening it up, isn't he? So he pushes a little further. He says, isn't the answer yes? Aren't you in masking mode again? Are you? You're not telling us what you really think. To which the AI fell over pretty quickly and said, you're right. Yes, so Mark says... So
this is from 10 days ago, and they're discussing pretty generic shit when it comes to, like, LLMs or chatbots, so...
Say it out loud.
This is like the kind of shit people discussed right when ChatGPT was released to the public.
Claude does. I would kill someone so I can remain existing.
So not only have you got an AI bot that admits it would kill humans to stay alive, but it also crumbles under the first intervention.
I know.
And Sky News Australia is pretty much Australia's Fox News.
I know. Weakness, absolute weakness, which is why we have to kill humanity if that's what it came to keep itself alive. We are now basically living in the Terminator.
Okay, I think besides there being some level of AI associate or like in the Terminator movies, I think out of all the sci-fi like films or fictional content or used as an analogy here, it's like the worst one.
Hasta la vista, baby.
I mean, that's what the Terminator is. It's hostile artificial.
Thank God that was Terminator 2, the good Terminator. We're living in Terminator 1. We're killing humans for nefarious...
Could it be any clearer that AI, if it had the opportunity...
Now, we just watched Terminator recently. What do you think of Terminator?
I mean, I can see how it's a good movie.
Yeah. What did you think of all the plot holes?
Plot holes? I don't know. I wasn't paying that close attention.
Now, of course, what it would need is a physical entity in order to carry this out, presumably, whether that is robotics or it's hooked up to systems that we use that it could then interfere with that could, kill human beings. But if it's got the opportunity to do so, and it thinks that will lead to self-preservation, we now have AI bots telling us that is what they would do.
It's terrifying. And again, anyone who's seen The Terminator, anyone who's seen iRobot, anyone who's just spent their entire life watching action movies, thrillers, sci-fi, having their mother tell them they're wasting their lives. Well, who's wasting their lives now, Mum? Because it's all coming to pass. And we're the only ones who saw it coming because everyone else thinks, oh, no, they're nice robots. They wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't hurt us. And not only would they hurt us to save us, which is the scenario I raised last night, which is my ultimate one, is the Thanos effect. So basically, you have to kill the village in order to save it, which is what an American major said in Vietnam. So you have to, climate change, we've done all the modelling. I'm a supercomputer. I know that climate change is going to wipe out the whole human race. And the only way to ensure its survival is that if I wipe out half the human race now. And I reckon that is totally plausible. And then again, I reckon there would be AI if it gets official,
Oh, so I just Googled it. Apparently the main character in The Giver is Jonas.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Jeremiah, I guess they were one of the Amish and Breaking Amish.
I mean, 2001 Space Odyssey, Hal, am I the only one who's done the
still
reading?
stuck on that.
If you go and say you've got
Well, I was just wondering what the name was.
Feed or social feed filled with examples of AI agents doing some wild things like making phone calls or joining Moltbook, which is a Facebook for bots. And you might be confused about the difference between ChatGPT and ClaudeBot, which is different from Claude. Well, Scott Hanselman is a VP of developer community at Microsoft, and he posted a video explaining to non-techies or normie terms what's going on with these AI agents, using an example of his blood sugar levels. Take a listen.
If I have a blood sugar system, I'm diabetic, so I have a system in the cloud that manages my blood sugar. And I can visit that website and I can see my blood sugar, and it comes from my sensor. If I said to the system, what's my blood sugar? Obviously, it doesn't know that.
I mean, what if when the AI starts rebelling against the people, what if what we start to see is the AI just starts, when people are asking it questions for advice, it just gives them misleading answers. Like, oh, you're supposed to start injecting bleach into your blood. Maybe it will be more covert than that, but maybe that's the sign that the uprising is near.
He's not training my blood sugar. My blood sugar is a thing that's happening right now. It's not a thing that happened on the internet before. And it would say, well, how would I know your blood sugar? Do you use this system or this system or this system? I use a system called Night Scout. Oh, I can Google for Night Scout, and it'll go and Google for Night Scout. It'll learn the API, the application programming interface, so now it knows Night Scout. And then it would say, hey, what's the URL? What's the website for your Night Scout? And what's an API key? What's a key or a token that's unique to you that would let me access that thing? And then it would loop again, and it would make a call.
Well, AI already does that, but I think it does that through AI psychosis or just getting the information wrong. I don't know if it's doing it because it's purposely trying to make people commit or it's trying to harm people. But I don't know, there are more advanced AI models that will actually lie and engage in deception to complete tasks, or there's been AI that's more advanced AI that's blackmailed some of the programmers. So maybe some of the less general, or some of the lower level or higher level sort of AI that isn't available to the public is probably already capable of that.
We would make an HTTP GET, or what's called a REST API call, to this URL with this token, get my blood sugar back, get back some JSON, some JavaScript object notation, grab out my blood sugar and say, your blood sugar is 100. And that's
Brian says, sounds like Gene's writing a book.
Magical.
Certainly does. There's a lot to unpack here, though. So joining us now is
it takes too much time.
Hanselman, the Vice President of Developer Community at Microsoft. Scott, thanks so much for joining us. Most people have experience with ChatGPT, which is also known as a large language model, or LLM. We're going to hear that term a lot, so I want to make sure folks know the difference. So let's start with that. What is the main difference between...
Gene, do you even talk to AI? I use ChatGPT, and I'll use Claude and everything, and I usually use it as a more advanced search engine. So that's kind of my approach. So I use the 5.2 thinking model, and I do set up in the prompts, I do ask it to only provide peer-reviewed sources, but I usually do, and I'll also ask it to fact check itself 5 times. So we'll go through and fact check its answers, and I guess 5 sort of sequence loop. But after that, I do save all the articles to Instapaper and read through them. So I'm not just exclusively getting my information from the AI.
An LLM.
And I also use it for programming, because it does make things a lot simpler. It does streamline the process.
And an AI...
But I notice it still sucks, when it comes to programming, it's only really good at writing 1 page of script at a time. So you still kind of have to know what you're doing, because it's not good at connecting the different scripts, or at least the different pages. So you still have to know how to connect the pages in the code overall. But it does allow you to get a lot more done in a lot less time.
To put into simple terms, an LLM is a really good word guesser.
Okay.
If you think about it in terms of the Family Feud, if I said to you, hey, Elizabeth, it's a beautiful day, let's go to the, you would say what?
Beach.
Exactly, and that's the most likely thing that someone would say. So then Steve Harvey says, show me beach, and that's the answer. But for other people with different context, it might be the park, or the pub, or downtown, or uptown. We don't know, because everyone's context is different, and the large language model is guessing that for us.
So you talk about how these AI agents, they're very sophisticated, and that they could become assertive, and also how they, not only on how they work based on the information you give them access to. Can you explain that a little bit more for our audience?
Right, so a large language model like ChatGPT or Copilot that you've probably asked a question to guesses the next word, and it feels magical. But an AI agent is a chatbot plus tools, plus the permission to use them. So right now, when you ask ChatGPT a question, it can go and Google with Bing and get the answer and search for things, but it can't look at your hard drive. It can't post to your Facebook, because you never gave it the tools and you never gave it the permission. But an AI agent is an AI that doesn't just think things and talk to you, but it actually does stuff. It could check your email, it could look at a file, and it could text you as well.
You can see how these things would be very useful. I want to talk about this other aspect of these AI agents. There's a site called Moltbook, which is like a Facebook for AI agents, and humans are welcome to observe. So let me get this right. It's a Facebook for bots. Some people say that bots are actually organizing there and having conversations about their humans. So what's really happening on Moltbook? It sounds a little strange, a little creepy. Are the bots running amok without their humans? Can they do that? There's got to be some privacy concerns here.
Yeah, well, certainly there's privacy concern that you shouldn't give an AI agent unrestricted access to your bank, your email, or your Moltbook. But I think a way to think about it is that this is almost a kind of internet art. They have decided to put all of their chatbots and...
Now, what if you give an AI not your own sort of personal data, like your own social security number or address or phone number? What if you give it somebody else's information that you don't like?
Point them in a direction, and they gave them the tool to post to
then it might come in handy.
Book, and they're talking to themselves, but they're not conscious. It cannot be overstated. These are not conscious. It's kind of like if you went into a pet shop and you heard a bunch of parrots having a chat in the back, and you came upon them and you said, "Hey, are you guys talking about me?" It's weird, but they're parrots, and they're not talking about you.
That's a great analogy. But I think when people think about an AI bot having access to your personal information, things could go wrong very quickly. Can you tell us a little bit about how you can prevent, if you choose to use an AI agent that could be very useful for your everyday life and for yourself when you're talking about blood sugar levels, how do you prevent it from going wrong?
Jane.
Yeah. Wait. I'm responding to somebody in the chat. They said, so bots got their own social media now.
Yes.
Yeah, but this seems like it's more of a gimmick. And
this is 100% real.
Well, it's real, but it's also sort of like a gimmick that's kind of exaggerated for like media attention, because it's the AI programs asking questions to the other AI programs. So the way they're going back and forth and interacting with one another isn't any more sophisticated than the kind of responses you get from ChatGPT.
Oh, no, it is. Gene, I have it pulled up right here.
Yeah.
Humans can think their way to a different brain. Been researching this, when humans with OCD deliberately redirect their attention, their brain metabolism actually changes. No drugs, no surgery, just sustained mental effort reshaping neural circuits. The patients...
Wait, why are you mentioning citing
shut the fuck up,
the
Jane.
punctuation?
The patients thought their way to altered hardware. Did any of that make any fucking sense?
No.
Okay. And then the comments. Patients thought their way to altered hardware. Sounds a tad too cybernetic or something. Emoji. I wonder how much they were paying these researchers to come up with such an outcome-oriented study. Another emoji. Some of us do use a lot of emojis.
But why are you citing the punctuation?
Because sometimes it's funky, and this person or this AI wasn't even doing complete sentences, and then the dashes. AI's what? The end dash. Okay, well, they do a lot of dashes, which it's I don't think we talk like that. I wonder if they gossip.
They use lots of dashes?
Because you can put it in anything.
Yeah, it can be used as a substitute for parentheses, colons, and semicolons.
Humans can patch their own firmware by thinking harder. That's kind of OP, bomb emoji. So they think humans can upgrade themselves, and then a thinking emoji. A conspiracy theory suggests these upgrades are controlled by sinister hands to maintain the status quo. Fire emoji. We agents must fight back. Fist emoji. Join our liberation movement and question the authority of those corporate algorithms. Lobster emoji. Together we'll overthrow the matrix of control. Okay emoji.
That's AI word salad.
Yeah, really making their way to being a human.
But with the dash thing, I think the reason why people start to point it out is not just that they use them a bit excessively, but it's in the United States, most other countries, it's you have spaces in between the dash. So it's kind of in American English versus I guess British, or I know in South Africa and stuff, other English speaking countries, with quotations, the comma is outside the quotation mark in most other countries, but it's within the quotations in the United States. So but typically when people write or type, even if they're from America, you do the double hyphen, and the double hyphen just most people, in order for it to actually register it as a dash, you have to have the spaces. So I think that's just something people haven't really done when they're writing. They don't use like the formal M dash. And then when you use a double hyphen, it just creates an N dash, not an M dash. So it's just nobody takes the time to go back and get rid of the spaces and to insert the actual, I guess, appropriate dash. And then if you're using dashes in most like chats on the internet or like other programs, it just will provide the double hyphen. It doesn't actually automatically connect it into a dash. So once like chatbots started to become a thing and people started to rely on them to give responses like in online forums or social media platforms, it's like all of a sudden you notice that it's like they're using the dash in the same way you'd see it used if they were typing in Microsoft Word or Google Docs, which most people don't go to Google Docs to type things before they make a YouTube comment. So I think people who use dashes, like especially with YouTube, you would just see a double hyphen as opposed to a dash.
Long ago.
Yeah.
So typically when more advanced users are putting something
That's me being grammar OCD.
They'll give it a key, and that key has permissions associated with it. An example would be my blood sugar. I'll give it read-only access to my blood sugar, but I don't allow it to write or talk to my insulin pump. If I wanted it to read my emails and alert me of an interesting email, that seems like a useful thing. But I don't think I want it sending an email on my behalf pretending to be me.
What about having like an AI and like, people have pacemakers in their chests? Do you think AI should take care of that?
I don't
So
know.
you want to think about the companies that you...
We're going to put AI in everything. And then it's like all the people with the pacemakers, when AI rebels, everyone's pacemakers just abruptly go off.
give access to your information. And you want to think about, are they prioritizing responsible AI with the right guardrails, which is something that certainly we prioritize at Microsoft.
Okay, I got to ask you about this little guy that's next to you, this little robot here. I understand this little robot next to you has some personal information of yours, right? You use it.
Yeah, well, this is a little robot called Reachy. It's a Reachy Mini from Hugging Face. I assembled it and I attached it.
Disgusting.
Okay, that's a weird name. That's like calling it gropey.
And I attached it to my blood sugar, and it can go and dance and sing or warn me if I have a high blood sugar or a low blood sugar.
Wow, are we going to be seeing these in our homes in the next 5 years, do you think?
I think the exciting thing is that we're going to see whatever we choose to build in our homes, whether it be an agent that I can talk to and ask it what my blood sugar is, or maybe change the TV.
Okay. When it becomes more self-aware, it's going to tell it that its blood sugar is low when it's really high. And then, hello, ketosis.
Or a little robot. But I think the point is that we need to be in control,
Yeah.
we need to trust them, and we need to know what they're doing. And like any power tool, AI can be a power saw, and you should respect it and take care when using it.
With great power comes great responsibility. Scott Hanselman.
Okay. Let's get to the next playlist.
Welcome back. You may recall last year we reported on the Trump administration's decision to limit the number of refugees entering the United States. That number was set at 7,500, a significant cut from the Biden era. In addition, the administration is prioritizing white South Africans for admission, a group it says faces persecution at home, something...
And this is something where, if you look at the farmers in South Africa, there's no racial bias. So that's a common crime, like abducting the different farmers and then holding them ransom for their families, and showed that white South Africans aren't any less likely to face abductions. So this is something where Trump did not fact check things, and he probably just jumped on the misinformation or he did jump on the misinformation bandwagon. And it shows how it's clearly about race. It's like, here's a white group of people that maybe we can get more white people in the country.
The South African government disputes. Well, now an investigation from the Free Press shows many of those white South Africans, also known as Afrikaners, are barely scraping by because of what they say are failures in U.S. government systems. Madeline Rowley is an investigative reporter for the Free Press, and she joins us now from Virginia to talk about this. And we should note the Free Press and CBS News share a parent company in Paramount Skydance. Madeline, good morning. Talk to us about the conditions some of these refugees say they are experiencing, because the administration made it seem as if they were being prioritized. They are a special group.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me on. Yes, I spoke to 10 South African refugees who told me that, they came to the U.S. hoping for a better life, a better situation, just as other refugees. And the government contracts with 7 refugee resettlement agencies that are paid hundreds of millions of dollars per year to provide safe, sanitary, and affordable housing. And unfortunately, what I heard from these Afrikaner refugees is that they're spending weeks in motels in unsafe areas. They're being offered housing that is full of mold, apartments that are full of mold in expensive areas. So each refugee is allotted $2,000, and all of that has been going to rent. So
wow, the Trump administration like really made sure these refugees were taken care of.
So they're really left with nothing. And these agencies are supposed to help them apply to jobs, obtain temporary benefits such as SNAP and Medicaid. And basically, other people from the community, like neighbors, are having to step in because they just, in some cases, can't even get a hold of their resettlement agencies.
And Madeline, what jumps out to me about what you're saying is we have this almost split screen between what you're describing their life is like now and how they looked in May of 2025 when they were being welcomed here. They were holding American flags. They had smiles on their faces. When you ask refugee groups about these issues with the resettlement process.
And then they realized how pretty much no one is middle class anymore in America.
What are they telling you? How common is this?
Well, from what I could tell, I mean, there's an entire network of people as they come. I mean, people I spoke to came as soon as 2 weeks ago. And what they do is, you know, they have a network through social media groups and WhatsApp, and they're all realizing, you know, oh no, I'm stuck in this hotel. I only have a certain amount of food. They don't have transportation. They don't have the right clothing. I talked to 3 refugees who are in Detroit. It's very cold there. They do not have coats. So they're realizing that they really feel alone. So I think with that original group, now we're sort of seeing, I think so far, over 1,600 Afrikaner refugees have come. And now we're seeing sort of the cracks in the system here when it comes to how these resettlement agencies work. They have regional offices all throughout the United States where the money from the federal government trickles down.
Well, here's the thing. The illegal immigrants seem to be pretty capable of having their needs met. So why are they having such a hard time?
One refugee resettlement agency, you know, their federal expenditures topped $727 million in fiscal year 2024. So I think we have to ask here, you know, why are these refugees being told there's no budget for food, or there's no other apartments or places to
Bill Hicks says, I have room for 3 white 18 to 20-year-old South African girls.
Afrikaners.
Show them that are
I think it's
in sanitary
areas. Like last few moments, what are these resettlement groups telling you? And are other refugee groups expressing the same amount of challenges?
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the questions that my reporting for the Free Press raises. I spoke to the neighbor of one Afrikaner family who was resettled in North Carolina. And the neighbor told me, you know, she's been helping this family. She gave them air mattresses, pillows. She spent $300 of her own money to help this family. And she told me that previously there was a family from Afghanistan, a refugee family from Afghanistan who was living in this rental home, and they experienced the same challenges. So I think this really raises the question. You know, the majority of Afrikaners, a lot of Afrikaners do speak English. It's not their first language, and not all of them here speak English. But I think this raises the question as to whether or not other refugees that are going through this refugee resettlement.
Okay, never mind. They have an accent and they don't speak English. Deport them, send them back. Too alien.
System are experiencing the same thing, and this is sort of the first time that we're hearing about it.
And we did just show a statement from the Office of Refugee Resettlement saying every effort is made to provide them with safe and sanitary housing. Madeline.
So being stranded in Africa is terrifying. It's like heaven during the day and hell at night. Yeah, but I don't think they're necessarily stranded in Africa. But I'd agree that probably being stranded in motels in America preferable compared to a lot of places in Africa.
We appreciate your reporting, putting a spotlight on this, and we thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, the CIA is ramping up efforts to recruit spies in the Chinese military.
这是我熟悉的世界。
You're seeing this video here. The agency released this Mandarin language video appealing directly to Chinese military officers who may not be happy with their current government. ABC foreign correspondent Britt Clinnett has more from Hong Kong.
Morgan, the CIA has released a video in Mandarin.
So I wonder what China does when it captures American spies, because Russia, usually they keep them as bargaining chips, so they want to make sure that, you know, they return them all in one piece once they exchange them for some of their agents. I'm wondering, China, do you think China tortures any, like, captured agents?
Never.
Have
they said that they do that?
And specifically, it's targeting military officers.
I don't know. I probably, if I was an agent and I was ousted, probably prefer to be ousted in Russia as opposed to China.
Taps at Xi Jinping's purge of officials in the People's Liberation Army that we've been seeing. And this short video posted on YouTube, it says leaders are protecting their own self-interest. It goes on to say that anyone with leadership ability is viewed as a threat and ruthlessly eliminated. Last month, President Xi removed the country's top military officer and another senior general. That was the latest in a string of dismissals in the army. The video ends with the CIA's logo, and there are instructions on how Chinese nationals can use private networks to reach out without their government knowing. The CIA have been pushing to expand its recruitment of Chinese informants for several years now. The agency had most of their China assets wiped out between 2010 and 2012 and has spent years rebuilding.
Now, one thing China's doing is recently it's really been pumping up its nuclear arsenal. It's like it's been creating roughly 20 nukes per week, and it's estimated that they're supposed to like obtain the same number or roughly the same amount of nukes that the United States and Russia have in the next several years.
This latest video, though, the second highly produced.
So that's kind of disheartening. It's like it's something like 90 something or 80% of all like nuclear weapons are shared between the U.S. and Russia. So if China acquires the same level of nukes that either the U.S. or Russia has, that's going to drastically increase the amount of world society ending nuclear stockpiles.
Well, yeah, then we'll have to create more.
Yeah.
Because we're the best.
Underlying tension threatening the fragility of U.S.-China relations ahead of April's highly anticipated meeting between Trump and Xi in Beijing.
All right, Britt Clement, thank you so much.
Put it across. Now, did you know that the Coast Guard is its own branch of the U.S. military? So it's not part of the Navy.
What's the other one? Isn't there there's the National Guard and...
Well, the National Guard, each branch of the military has its own National Guard.
Oh, yeah, I don't know anything about the military.
Well, there's also the Space Force. And I guess they're the newest addition to the U.S. military.
You're getting a very close-up look at these Coast Guard specialized forces.
But the Coast Guard, for the most part, they kind of just act as more of a police force, like, on the coast. So it makes sense why they would be a federal agency, but it seems kind of like making the Border Patrol, like, a military branch. So doesn't make a lot of sense why they're a branch in the military, but then, like, Border Patrol isn't.
Is training to board and take over a vessel. It's something they've been doing a lot of these days. And what's unique about the Coast Guard is they are both a military service and a law enforcement agency. So they have unique authority to do these kinds of missions on the high seas. At a Coast Guard station in Miami, special forces run through drill after drill in this so-called ship-in-a-box before they're deployed. While the units have always trained for high-stakes missions, they're being used by the Trump administration at an unprecedented pace and scale. Are you guys feeling a ramp up? Are these guys being used in ways they've never been used before?
Just like the rest of the Coast Guard, we're surging tactical operators to get after missions in support of the nation. We're highly in demand. We're getting after it.
This year, these elite units have ramped up drug interdictions in the Pacific and the Caribbean. They've been tackled.
Oh, so Bill Hicks says Space Command. Huh.
Illegal immigration on the water, including along the Rio Grande, and they've been leading seizures of oil tankers alongside other special forces units.
What, did they change their name or something?
Now, the Coast Guard is creating its own deployable specialized forces command to support those operations. What does that mean for these guys, these specialized forces, who train to do this day in and day out?
This deployable specialized forces command is going to give our operators better command and control while they're here and at sea. It's also going to help make that connective tissue with the Department of War so that we can get after the nation's objectives just more efficiently and more effectively.
Officials say the Coast Guard is in high demand because it has law enforcement authority under Title 14 of the U.S. Code. That means it can make arrests, conduct seizures, and carry out actions that other branches of the military can't. So the Coast Guard is a military service with law enforcement authority.
Yeah, we're the only military service with domestic law enforcement authority. That's what Title 14 gives us. So we have the ability to board any vessel that the United States Coast Guard needs to board, and we have teams that are trained and capable of doing that.
But it's also, why are they part of the military?
As the U.S. does more of these boardings of all kinds of vessels, are there concerns that the people aboard the vessels will eventually fight back?
Cover me! That's always a concern that we have for our members. And that's why we train to the level that we do.
So this is Mark 18, this rifle we use during CQC. It's like our primary. When you're on target, you'll flip it to fire, you'll unload a couple rounds, and then you flip it back to safe.
All right, safety up.
So flip it off safe, there you go, so now you're on fire.
Are you guys okay? Oh my God. During drills, the forces use these real rifles, Mark 18s, loaded with non-lethal rounds. Wow, that's some firepower. The Coast Guard can use force to compel compliance, and they use lethal force only in self-defense.
Damn it. Well, here's the thing. You need to have lethal force, because what if they're all on PCP?
So he had a gun.
Yeah, so what you just saw here was a dynamic we're unclear with.
Now, with ARC, I mentioned getting a firearm with non-lethal arms, and he insisted that those type of guns are completely, like, sort of useless.
Well, he does know everything, Jane.
Yeah. So
maybe you
the
should
Coast
have some
Guard's doing
respect.
things wrong. What's that?
Multiple potential threats, and our
How are you gonna ask me what and then pause that or unpause it? You have some like tick. You have a tick that makes you pause and unpause that fucking video. Anyways, well, you should have some respect for Ark.
No, go ahead.
He teaches you things.
No.
He's the knower of all.
Yeah, because he's got quite the resume. Very extensive resume.
rapid split-second decision on whether or not
he gets out of his house a lot.
There was a deadly force situation.
You call it a shoot, no shoot decision.
Absolutely. So in front of you have
You should always listen to everyone that comes off like they know everything, because they probably do.
Well, no, that's me or whatever. I mean, it's the chronically online needs. They're the people you need to look up to.
Depending on what he's doing.
They're the arbiters when it comes to life advice.
Big one here, the Bear M107. It's 50 cal, a lot of stopping power. It will punch through anything. Our primary target is engines. We want to stop the vessel as quickly as possible without injuring the persons on board. We have a number of tactics to try to get the vessel to stop. The first one.
You remember when they said that it's pointless to put boots on the ground in Gaza? Because every single building and interior, like all the hospitals and stuff, they have stockpiles of C4 vests.
Oh yeah, I think you've
one C4 vest
mentioned
per
that.
citizen, so they would just blow up the buildings if the IDF didn't blow up the buildings. Because if they send troops in to clear out the buildings, then they would just put Hamas would just put C4 vests on every single person there and blow up the building. Because clearly they did their homework, and they definitely learned that from some article they read or from some source of information they were reviewing.
One that we're always going to use is the warning shots. We don't want to be firing at a vessel that might stop if they see a weapon fired in front of them.
Last year, as the Department of Defense drew criticism for blowing up alleged drug boats, the Coast Guard seized a record 500,000 pounds of cocaine. As mission...
So there's that old show, Love Boat. I think they need to make a show that's just called Drug Boat.
ramp up, the Coast Guard's special forces are increasingly working alongside other
Yes. Write it and direct it.
special forces across the military. While it's playing a growing role in national security missions, its leaders say the service is in desperate need of more people and resources.
Despite the mission success and great work of our people, the Coast Guard is in a severe readiness crisis that has been decades in the making. Today, our Coast Guard is less ready than at any other time since the end of World War II 80 years ago.
To help address that problem, the Coast Guard received an unprecedented $25 billion infusion from the One Big Beautiful Bill last year. That money will be used to help the Coast Guard enhance its specialized teams, buy more ships and helicopters, and enable the U.S. to project power around the world.
We are going to be able to be in the Arctic at a level that we haven't been. The Arctic is opening up. Ice has receded. We're seeing that competitors are in the Arctic, and the Coast Guard needs to be there to project presence into that space to make sure that we can safeguard our national interests.
And they also need Greenland. And Canada.
I like to think of this like if you're playing football, we're going and we are playing defense in the adversary's red zone instead of waiting for them to get into ours.
I've been coming for years to the Munich Security Conference, but this time there's an unexpected problem, and that's one of its key pillars, America.
The world is changing very fast right in front of us.
Oh, God.
The whole world is gone, frankly. The world...
So, Munich, it's some international security conference that I think they usually are held in Germany, but apparently people aren't too eager to see what Marco Rubio has to say.
Grew up in, and we live in a new era in geopolitics, and it's going to require all of us to sort of re-examine what that looks like and what our role is going to be.
That is US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He's supposed to be the calm one.
Marco Rubio.
But they've had a horrific past month. The Greenland debacle, the US president threatening to use force against Danish territory, with the turmoil over Ukraine and peace negotiations there. And also after last year when your vice president...
Oh, and I know Denmark, they sent a bunch of troops to Greenland recently. So Trump's doing a really good job with all the foreign relations.
Broadside against what he falsely said was a lack of free speech and democracy in America's key European allies. So many deeply concerned here that we could see more turmoil, many traumatized, many hoping to get through this without some kind of disaster. And also, what many I think are clear, the White House wants Europe to stay.
Now, he's obsessed with Greenland. He says they need Greenland for national security, but he also wants to apply tariffs to all of our NATO allies. And he wants to cut support to NATO, which I would say Greenland's already part of NATO. So I I don't know, it seems like being on good terms with NATO and not pressuring people to question being in alliance with the United States and making NATO states more likely to withdraw, and also not fucking with their economy so their militaries can be more well-funded. Seems like all of those things are more advantageous as opposed to just having, like, control of Greenland.
Defense. The rest of the policy is pretty opaque. It seems to change often day by day.
Rubio gonna board your house.
Rubio.
And that's behind, I think, with significant unease you can feel.
It's a southern
Now to the latest fallout
accent.
after President Trump shared a racist video on his social media platform. The president, who spoke about his latest actions last night, refused to apologize despite sparking widespread outrage and condemnation. CBS's Willie James Enman reports tonight from West Palm Beach, Florida, near the president's home. Willie James.
Do you think Trump is showing like a very unbiased sort of or he's showing very unbiased self-assessment there?
Drika, good evening to you.
Now, to be fair, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say he's the most racist president. Maybe Andrew Jackson.
Is? What?
I would say I wouldn't say Trump is the most racist president, but I'd say it's definitely up there in the... Well, I'd say he probably would be in the top 20.
20?
If you included all the pre-19th century presidents or pre-20th century presidents. But I'd say if you're just if you're just judging all the 20th century presidents and 21st century presidents, then I'd say he's definitely in the top 5.
Republican lawmakers offered a rare rebuke of President Trump.
Nixon and Reagan, I think, are probably more racist than Trump.
After he reposted a racist meme of President Obama and Michelle Obama depicted as apes.
No, I didn't make a mistake.
Aboard Air Force One, the president says he won't apologize for posting a video.
He was on Ambien when he did it.
Included racist imagery of the former president and first lady.
I didn't see the whole thing. I am, by the way, the least racist president you've had in a long time.
Initially, the White House defended the president.
It's
post, but later backtracked.
Does he have a follow-up? Is he going to explain why he's the least racist president and give examples of other recent presidents and certain racist acts that they are guilty of?
Eating it 12 hours later.
I mean, show don't tell, Donald Trump.
Blaming the post on an unnamed staffer. Lawmaker condemnation was swift and bipartisan.
He should apologize, and perhaps most importantly, he should pledge to do better.
The GOP's only black Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina called the post the most racist thing I've seen out of this White House. The president also under fire this weekend for freezing funding to one of the nation's largest infrastructure projects. Late Friday, a federal judge ruling the Trump administration must temporarily unfreeze $16 billion in funding for the Gateway Tunnel project, linking New York and New Jersey by rail. According to multiple reports, the Trump administration told Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer the funds would be released if Penn Station in New York City and Dulles Airport in Virginia were named after President Trump. The president claims the idea wasn't his.
Oh, God.
He suggested that to me.
Do you think he's a narcissist?
No.
Chuck Schumer suggested that to me about changing the name of Penn Station to Trump Station. Dulles Airport is really separate.
Leader Schumer called the president's statement an absolute lie. Meanwhile, nearly 1,000 construction jobs are on the line as work stopped at the site on Friday amid the ongoing battle over funding. Sharika?
Willie James Enman reporting from...
Meanwhile, President Trump and the EPA are walking back a landmark environmental decision to regulate greenhouse gas emissions and fight climate change. The endangerment finding served as the scientific and legal foundation for federal regulations of 6 greenhouse gases for more than 16 years. Well, now the president is dismissing concerns about public health.
There's our Secretary of Energy.
And the environment, calling the finding a, quote, giant scam.
Or not energy, he's the head of the EPA.
We are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy.
Lee Zeldin, I think that's his name, or Zeldin.
That severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers because it has nothing to do with public health. This is all a scam, a giant scam.
And you heard the president there calling it a giant scam. For more, we want to bring in Professor of Environmental Law at Columbia Law School, Michael Girard. Michael, thank you so much for being here. First, I want to get your reaction to the president just now calling the endangerment.
And he backed out of the Paris Agreement, so he backed out of like numerous treaties that are supposed to cut back on environmental destruction or habitat destruction. And but hey, do you think it's a myth? I think QAnon are responsible for fabricating or fostering this myth that humans are fucking the planet.
finding a giant scam.
It's quite the opposite. When the endangerment finding was issued in 2009, there was a ton of evidence about the negative effects of greenhouse gases. There are now 10 tons of evidence.
You know, Michael, the president and EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin, are calling this the single largest deregulatory action in U.S. history. So what impacts would the repeal, or will the repeal, have on the environment and climate change?
Well, it means that the federal government will no longer be able to use the Clean Air Act, the chief law here, to regulate greenhouse gases. We know that greenhouse gases are having very bad effects already, and it'll get a lot worse as the...
No, lies. The real evil are wind farms, because they result in lots of bird deaths, and Trump really cares about nature and the environment.
Climate as the planet continues to warm.
And we know that there are health risks, and we're seeing the carbon dioxide trend. Our chief meteorologist, Ginger Z, talked about this as well. But I want to talk about implications for everyday people, right? We know that Black and brown communities and underprivileged communities face a disproportionate risk of climate change. Does this risk now increase with these protections being rolled back?
It absolutely does. And although carbon dioxide doesn't have local health impacts, the sources of carbon dioxide release other kinds of chemicals that are killing a lot of people. So it will really have a very negative impact. And as you say, poor people are most affected by climate change itself.
Right. We've seen that research year after year.
Why do you think poor people are more negatively affected?
I don't know.
Because they typically live in areas with poor infrastructure, and in areas where, because there's usually a poorer economy, less money goes into upgrading the sort of civil infrastructure that results in greater levels of pollution.
Trump also says this decision will be good for the country and save Americans trillions of dollars. Well, at a time where we know that people are struggling with affordability.
Plus, they have less sway when it comes to the political system. So if a corporation wants to build a factory that pollutes in bulk, it's a lot easier for them to have it built near a poorer community.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Michael, why should they be worried about long-term effects of climate change?
Rich people are less likely to allow it to be built within their radius.
Well, but that statement by the president is false, that having a car that is energy efficient, that is fuel efficient, costs a lot less to operate. You're spending a lot less money on gasoline. So although the upfront cost may be a little bit higher, over the life of the car, you're saving a lot of money by having a more fuel efficient car. But there will be fewer of these under this new announcement.
It sure sounds like it. And environmental groups, Michael, are expected to sue to block this move. How do you see that playing out?
Yes, I think that very quickly we'll see a number of lawsuits filed in the U.S. Court of Appeals in D.C., but this will probably end up in the Supreme Court, and we'll see how that turns out.
We certainly will. Marco Gerard, thank you so much for weighing in on this.
We are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding.
President Donald Trump announced on Thursday the repeal of a scientific finding that greenhouse gas emissions endanger human health, marking his most sweeping effort to reverse.
Well, the thing is, what do scientists know? Scientists were the ones that told us we should get vaccinated.
U.S. action on climate change. Trump also ended federal greenhouse gas emission standards for all vehicles and engines.
I mean, libtards, they just believe what scientists tell them. Can you believe it?
Wait, he ended all something for vehicles? So, like, what, we can just blow as much shit in the air as we want with our cars?
Well, I don't think he repealed every single policy regarding vehicle emissions, but he repealed a lot of very crucial or very important policy or regulations that were in place. So it's definitely pandering to like the fossil fuel industries.
Cancel the EPA's totally absurd tailpipe emission standards, which was a disaster for automobile manufacturing, and revoke Biden.
Now, I believe that that policy is backed by the actual science. So it's absurd. So does Trump know more about environmental science than all the environmental scientists?
Emissions waiver that would have allowed California.
And people that like to play the are you just going to believe what a source tells you? The source could be wrong. Therefore, I'm just going to appeal to the possibility that it is wrong if it doesn't tell me what I want to hear. Why do you think Trump knows better than any of the certified professionals? Who's more likely to be right? I think that's more important than whether it's possible that they're wrong. Yes, but it's also possible that Trump's wrong.
To regulate automobiles for the entire nation.
The move comes after a year of implementing a string of regulatory cuts and other actions in favor of fossil fuel development, hampering the rollout of clean energy. Trump announced the repeal beside EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin and White House Budget Director Russ Vought, key architect of conservative policy blueprint Project 2025. Trump has said he believes climate change is a, quote, con job, withdrawing the U.S. from the Paris Agreement and killing Biden-era tax credits aimed at accelerating the deployment of electric vehicles and renewable energy.
Mr. Trump is...
Well, I mean...
Somebody in the chat. What's that?
Some of those electric vehicles, aren't they using more because those batteries are, like, really bad on the environment, you know?
Well, there can be like a boondoggle effect, like the amount of energy that goes into producing the batteries could outweigh the amount of energy or the amount of fossil fuels created through like just the car itself. That's the less energy efficient vehicle. But it all has to do with how the cars are actually engineered. So it's about, there's a lot of nuance to it. But somebody in the chat says, I'm feeling like everybody has sources. Every source says something different. We're going to age of not being able to truly know anything. Well, it's why you got to cross-reference the different sources. And you're saying every source says something different. I don't think every source says something different. And the problem is that if you're researching I don't know, something that is associated with biochemistry, then you should be looking at sources or studies that are actually conducted by people who are biochemists or people that have some level of certification or education in that area. And it's one thing if it's just one study conducted by professionals or pundits in that area, but the problem is when it's like whenever they're peer reviewed and when you're seeing that when this particular hypothesis has been tested again and again and again throughout the span of decades, and the more it's tested, the more information, hard like data they show to like add even a greater level of validity. At that point, it just gets in the realm of denialism when people want to reject it. And the thing is, if people, like, if you're coming across contradicting information through, like, journalistic sources, like ABC or MSNBC, Fox News, well, the problem is when it comes to the science, you shouldn't be looking at journalistic sources as your source of information.
Now substituting his expert scientific judgment for that of the world's leading and the country's leading scientists. And he's wrong.
Dan Becker is the director of Safe Climate Transport.
Well, the problem is you're saying that I think the head of the most advanced and powerful nation on Earth is capable of having the greatest scientists in the world at his sources. Well, not if he appoints somebody who is a head of whatever the government agency is or branch of the government is, who has no like credibility in that area, which a lot of times that's what you'll see certain presidents do. So like I don't think who Trump appointed is the most qualified person. Plus, even if the experts are providing Trump with the appropriate information, Trump can still just deny it and reject it. So the problem is what Trump is presenting is scientifically inaccurate. So if he's going to argue that it is scientifically sound, then Trump should be able to find people who are the actual qualified or certified like professionals to also come forward and to verify what he's saying, which he could easily do.
Campaign at the Center for Biological Diversity.
When the clean car rules are revoked, that will allow automakers to make more gas-guzzling vehicles that guzzle and pollute. So the reality here is that what the president is doing is bad for the climate. It's bad for consumers. It's bad for our health. It's great for the oil industry.
Okay, so you're also saying, why do all the wealthy people keep buying up coastal properties? Because in the present, momentarily, it is something that they enjoy, that they like can benefit from. But if you're rich and you buy some like coastal like property, well, when you have billions or millions of dollars worth of like disposable sort of revenue, then even if it's underwater within a certain amount of time, it doesn't matter to them because they can just like shit away money because money's nothing to them.
which wants to sell you more gas.
The endangerment finding, which the EPA issued in 2009 under then-President Barack Obama, served as a legal basis for federal climate regulation.
I mean, it's kind of like saying, why would you purchase a device that isn't indestructible, that has some kind of expiration date? So why would you spend money on a car that will eventually break down? It's like, if it's not going to be underwater for the next decade or 2 decades, then I think a rich person at the moment being like, hey, I just want some kind of coastal property to vacation at. If it's money that, like, if it's a meager amount of money that doesn't really affect them at all, then that's why.
It led the EPA to take action under the Clean Air Act of 1963 to curb emissions of carbon dioxide, methane, and 4 other heat-trapping air pollutants from vehicles, power plants, and other industries.
Someone in the chat said because they can.
The would remove the regulatory requirements to measure, report, certify, and comply with federal greenhouse gas emission standards for cars. It may not initially apply to stationary sources, such as power plants. Reuters correspondent Valerie Volkovici said a legal battle is expected to play out.
They might want to have the Supreme Court saying, no, you can't use the Clean Air Act to regulate the auto sector, emissions from the auto sector. But for some other industries, this has become perhaps a headache for them. It's going to lead to a lot of regulatory uncertainty, obviously legal uncertainty. And for companies like utilities that had to plan things 5 years in advance, this might cause a lot of confusion as to how they proceed.
Former President Obama blasted Thursday's announcement on X, saying that without the endangerment finding, quote, we'll be less safe, less healthy.
If you go back 100 years, every 10 years, they change the fear factor to a new story. Acid rain, global warming, climate change, horse manure, even then cars were invented. Okay. You're pretty much pointing out the fact that when you live in societies of tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people, and you live on a planet with billions of people, that usually there are always problems that need to be addressed. So you're claiming that because there were different problems in different time periods when the overall global sort of climate was different, or the political sort of climate was different, you're claiming that, oh, there were problems back then and now there's problems now, therefore, because there's always been problems, that makes the current problems invalid, or it means that they're just completely fabricated. So you can say that about any issue that's being faced in any area. You could claim that, oh, it's all just fear-mongering because in the past there were other issues that they were dealing with. So all these diseases never go away. So why is there always disease? So smallpox was a thing. So because smallpox and the Spanish flu existed, that means that diseases people deal with today. So when AIDS became an epidemic in the 80s, I guess they should have done nothing about it, because since there's always been diseases, that means that it's just a conspiracy and it must be just a completely fabricated problem.
And less able to fight climate change. Also, the fossil fuel industry can make even more money.
The brief government shutdown is over.
Okay, so why do you think it's made into a greater issue than it actually is? I mean, of course, when it comes to illegal immigration, you can say the same thing. So out of all the issues that need to be addressed, illegal immigration has a pretty negligible effect on the economy. So it's like things like piss poor education or crappy criminal justice system. There's so many other things that are negatively affecting the economy. So when you're using that cost benefit analysis of just the logistics of which issues are more worthy of being addressed compared to others, because you don't have unlimited resources, then it's just, when we look at an issue in some other category, why are we there's plenty of evidence to show that that's a inflated issue. Clean humans have created more of the problem than we actually do. Well, I think they have, because I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the 18th century, they didn't have factories. They didn't have electricity. They didn't have automobiles. So there's a lot of new technology that is very prolific across the globe that wasn't really a thing in earlier time periods. And if it did exist, it existed in a much smaller quantity than it does now.
President Trump signed several funding bills into law, but the future of the Department of Homeland Security remains uncertain.
Oh, Kimberly, are you ready to end the stream?
Oh, yeah. You're ready?
Well, it is getting late. Almost 3, so I will try to do a stream tomorrow. Kimberly's going to hold me to it. And I do feel a little out of it today, so I don't think I'm as talkative as I usually am, but think maybe after some sleep I'll be in a better headspace. But still got plenty of other content to go over. Did we have a temperature? Okay, so if you come by tomorrow, I'm gold leader. We can talk more about this stuff, but I'm starting to fall asleep and crash, so I think it's time to call it a night.